Welcome back. Heroes, villains, vigilantes, young heroes, Shie Hasaikai, everyone and everywhere, all at once even. Guys, it's time. The finals are upon us. I'm Levi, making my return. I've got with me Mr. Barrett Bryant. I only thought it would be fitting, right? Barrett's first RLE casting with me. Had to get him in on the finals. And I'm so glad that I did because we've got a wonderful finals ahead of us. We have the most hype fight of the entire Overhaul arc, of the entire season 4, of maybe even the entire anime. Deku versus Overhaul, all that airy stuff, I sleep. Mirio, Overhaul, slugging it out underground. This is what I'm excited for, Barrett.
No, absolutely. We've seen this fight, I feel like, many times in this competitive format, coming in with Undaunted Raid. Like, I mean, as you said, it's one of the most important fights in the anime, and it seems as it's carried over in the game. I mean, UVS Games did a great job. It's also seeming to be one of the most important fights that we see over and over and over again, but we just get to see some exciting rematches every single time. So, yeah, one half of the bracket, here we have Luke Quinsee piloting the Life Overhaul list. Not to be confused with the opponent that Emma just had on the other side, Emma Gillespie, and I apologize for that name, piloting Mirio under the good symbol, having to just overcome a Midoriya 4 deck, who then opted to side into an Overhaul list. So plenty of experience, I'm sure, running into them across the region as a whole, but coming into this final match, and the kicker here is that Luke is going to be able to go first, being the higher seed at this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Mirio being such an all out early game blitz rush type of aggressive deck, having that turn advantage is going to be very, 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 very massive for Luke here. He's going to be able to stabilize a little bit better and hopefully just not get rushed down as hard and as fast. Overhaul's just such a stable character that also scales incredibly well and plays with his resources so efficiently that getting that early game damage in is just very, very important against this guy. This turn 2, turn 3 world is where Emma's going to be looking to find the most value in her game before she lets Luke get just too comfortable.
No, absolutely. And I think that was kind of funny enough. I mean, that's what Tam and I were talking about going into the games 2 and the games 3 for Emma versus when Overhaul was sighted in. Well, now you have to fight this menace, the leader of the Shia Hisekai, of, you know, this incredible defense that Overhaul is able to sustain, key pieces that come with his own kit for stopping characters like Mirio with things like cooperation offer, and then also having such a consistent and easy line that I would say, in the sense of Luke has been kind of pulling this off the entire tournament, where we see 5 attack cards, 6 attack cards, 7 attack cards on sometimes on 6-7 foundations, being able to pull that off with cards like 100% repeated smash. And this deck is tailored for exactly that, consistency, finding the pieces that matter so that we can have a good aggression after our opponent misses a kill turn on us.
Yeah, I mean, when your guy says play an attack without any progressive difficulty, and then you've got an attack that says ready half your stage, it just makes sense. And we're going to see this guy put some crazy lines together with this deck. We've even got things like back alley hitmaker that are going to be building while we're attacking. There's a lot of ways to just keep going and going and going. Luke's list is very, very, very streamlined, right? He's got this really clean 20 attack lineup in 62 cards. He's got the repeateds, the back alleys, really heavy on the setup strengths, which I quite like. This is a very, very similar to Andrew's list, but with quite some heavy variations. We're almost all in on the punch package, opting to play, the heroic strikes and the setup strikes rather than going for the tongue whipped, the cannon blast routes. Not as teched out in the attack lineup. Again, like I said, very streamlined and very focused. Looking at Emma's list, also a little interesting. Barrett, what's going on with these first 3 foundations Emma's built? I don't. These are defensive cards. I don't get it.
Absolutely, which is so interesting because from when we tagged in for game 2 and game 3 over for Emma, we did not see a lot of these defensive pieces hit the board for Emma. I'll be honest with you, I wonder if these are the kind of cards that get rotated with some of her sideboard. And game 1 for this deck looks very different than how game 2 and 3 play out, especially against these Overhaul lists. I wonder if things like So Manly are just not that important against Overhaul, right? If you just have the bad timing on that card, you they use their once per turn anyway. The card ignores progressive. They're just going to get what they want. And so,
Right.
having to eat an unblocked attack is maybe not exactly what we want necessarily in the second game and the third game. And that card probably gets replaced by the cheerleader. You're right. This is the first time me seeing this card hit the board for her. But yeah, you're right. Specialist of Sound, Manly Passionate Guy. Manly Passionate Guy is one of the good ones for sure. And I think the fact is like, I'm not sure if we specifically missed a timing there, but because that could specifically have been built just on that block for the back alley.
Yeah, I don't see a reason not to manly that celebrity status down. Maybe, I mean, sure, maybe there's a better foundation block in the future. At the same time, though, maybe we're just not very threatened, and we're not really worried about having that resource for immediate use on the next turn, which could be our doom. Honestly, not necessarily our doom, but it could be to our detriment for sure. Like we said, this attack turn coming up, this is going to be the most important attack turn of the game. This attack turn right here is going to dictate everything from here on out. The position that we force Luke in or don't force him in is going to have the most impact on how he's allowed to play the entirety of the rest of this game. And I mean, with how stabilized he's looking, I think Luke's in a really good spot. He's found his cooperation offer, and he's found his passing the torch, kind of the two biggest like pieces for this deck when it comes to its flow in passing and its defense and cooperation.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're not seeing the best of checks on both of these leads for both players, whether it was the back alley on Luke's turn or now the back alley on Emma's. Checking in 3 here is not the best. And Luke is totally fine, I think, with dealing no damage on that, building another great foundations in the stage. That's exactly what this deck and what Overhaul is generally okay with doing. But seeing that 3 for Emma is probably going to feel a lot worse, right? We don't get to build an extra foundation from our hand, from our character. We typically want to keep playing more attacks, and we especially need to get that one momentum to make our defensive ability online. So the fact that we checked bad, this is going to be a little scary. We might just be trying to zone check Luke here. We do have a 1 cooperation offer built, so I mean it'll be pretty interesting if whether this one is the one that gets fully blocked or not. It is quite important. Yep, we made it a low though, and we have the full block for it. So a perfect hold for Luke. We have any card or any face down in our stage now that we can block with later, on top of a cooperation offer. So I mean, the fact is that whatever gets played next, if we play another one, can also be fully blocked. So Emma's probably not too happy about it and does opt to just keep building.
Oh man, this is rough. I mean, you can just commit Mirio though, I guess. Like we're not getting our momentum, right? So committing Mirio is completely okay here.
I 100% agree, and I think that's exactly what she's considering. Having almost tapped the Manly Passionate, but still opting for it. It's not the worst call either. Our opponent is playing stun cards and keeping your character up. That card is not stunnable.
Very true. Very, very true. There's certainly factors to consider on both sides of the equation. Putting another specialist on the board, though, getting some actually very real defense here. Looking a little bit further at Emma's list, I can kind of see how maybe a lot of this didn't pop up in the previous game you guys watched. A lot of it is like 1-ofs and 2-ofs. It's like a 1-of, so Manly, 1-of Cheerleader, 1-of Tayaki. Specialist is specifically a 2-of, 1-of You're So Obvious. This is just a very, very teched out deck. Almost the exact opposite, like thematically speaking, right? Of Luke's deck, very streamlined, very focused. Whereas Emma's deck is a lot more all over the place, a lot more technology for all kinds of different situations, able to kind of react depending on what the rival does and what of your different several pieces you find, right? I feel like as long as we can build a stable stage, what's in it isn't really super relevant, right? That's just kind of our foundation's biggest job is be committed to past checks on all of our sweet punches.
No, absolutely. And I didn't even consider this until just now. I in my head, I'm like, wow, Emma did a really good job, building all these really good defensive pieces. I think that's actually going to be a good reason why she can maybe survive a lot of this turn 3 aggression from Luke, who now has enough foundations. Like, he has plenty of foundations. He has enough to play as many attacks as he really wants to because of the power of the character and cards like Repeated. He had to have found them, though, and Luke has historically in this tournament run done very well at finding the attacks when he needs to. Not looking like so much right now, but we have the potential to draw into more with things like Back Alley and things like Future Charge. But what I wanted to really say was Emma has free reign to build every low block that she draws. Luke's attack package plays no low attacks, right? It's really just this is not the plummeting punches that we just saw in the last Midoriya list, right? Like this is all mids and all highs. And the crazy part about that is the good symbols, low block foundations, are very good. So the fact that we always are going to be able to build every single one that we find is actually a really good boon for Emma.
Yeah, interesting. I'm really surprised that we didn't try to go in this turn.
Oh, was I wrong? I thought there was 2 attacks in hand.
Yeah, I thought so too. I could have sworn. No, yes. We still have our 2 attacks. We picked up the cooperation offer with new training methods, so we still have our 2 attacks in hand.
Okay, good. I did miss a play. I'm like, are we a 7-hander? What happened?
Not quite.
No.
Essentially, most of the time, right? Sometimes we're an 8-hander if we really feel like it.
I actually absolutely love building 4 foundations right there, Low. You know,
five.
Oh, 5. Yeah, no, you're right. You preach it, man. If you're gonna go to deadlock, you better go deep, because there's a pull no punches on the other side of the board, and that's exactly what you're saying is like, that's a concern, right? Wouldn't you be worried about that? But if you go wide enough, you have the things like the keeping Ares safe. The deadlock on pull no punches doesn't feel as powerful. But I mean, I could be eating my own words though, because I mean, when you lead with a stun attack and then you give all your punches stun, it could add up very quickly.
We certainly can't underestimate the potential that comes from that card. We didn't build down anything like a Lost in Thought to be able to deal with the pull no punches, so we are just going to have to fight through it. We have triple keeping Ares safe, so
Yes,
we're going to be able to get around a lot of the stun coming in. More importantly, though, this is what I think is very, very, very spooky. Between the 5 foundations we built, 4 that we drew, 1 that we picked up with new training, and then the 2 attacks that we drew, in those 7 cards, Barrett, not a single low block.
Yeah,
not a single low block. We're going to be completely reliant actually on passing the torch. We don't even have, we could flip note taking for no effect just to block with it. That's the extent of our low blocks. We built a massive stage and we have so much blocking power of points to commit. But man, if we don't have those zones, this is going to be a painful turn.
I think that's even the scarier part about it, Levi, is that even the cooperation offer doesn't feel amazing, because the other 2 cards that were in our hand are still high blocks, and this is a mid attack. We're gonna eat some form of damage here unless we start using overhauls once per turn, and we don't want to do that now because then we lose the other card in our hand.
Yeah, we've already built down 1 of our 2 high blocks in our hand, so we have 1 high block sitting down there, 1 in hand. Not a great place to be. We, if anything, we almost just want to get this card out of our hands now, just so we can draw 2 off passing and try and find something a little bit better. Because right now we don't have the capabilities unless one of those. Oh, we do have 2 committed face downs sitting way over there.
1 is a new training method. We know that one for sure. But I mean, it's exactly. I mean, Emma's not even going to give us the chance to block or get rid of this back alley haymaker in our hand. It is essentially going to be, unless we start playing unless we start playing Texas Smashes that are already base high moves, but it's still a double use, right? We're having to use a cooperation offer to set it back there, and then we're also having to use the card in our hand. Like, there's not a good resource trade here for Luke in any situations because of the cards that were dealt off the top 7. It's not looking great, and Emma has one of the best leads that she could go for. Hey, I'm going to draw a card, and then I'm going to draw 2 more, and then we're going to figure out what happens all at the same time. I'm going to start committing your board because we procced all 3 keeping Ares safes on the first move.
Yeah, we are out of protection now when it comes to those stuns. We might not be able to keep anything safe throughout this string. This is going to be pretty frightening, man. Once again, we're playing another mid attack, so our cooperation offers are really not going to help us. I think it depends what our other face down is, I suppose. Like I said, we know 1's new training method. Is the other
2 are cards from hand, but we know that the readied one is the future charge or the back alley, right? Correct. Which are both high blocks. So it's really that mystery card that we slammed down in the beginning of the game on our first enhanced usage of Overhaul. So your guess is as good as mine, Levi, but if I had to guess, knowing Luke, it's a repeated smash, which means we have a low block.
This is where I'm kind of not so into the way we played that last turn anymore. As dope as diving deep in a deadlock to deal with the pull no punches simply existing. If we're gonna go, like you said, if we're gonna go, we have to go really hard. But the fact that we didn't get to see any extra cards that turn as a result of it, we could have played back alley, drew a card, committed passing, drew a card, played Future Charge, drew a card. We could have looked for some low blocks. The fact that we willingly went into this turn essentially without access to any low blocks might be the death of us, to be honest.
It could be. I do think Luke is, treading a very thin line. Like, hey, this is what my deck dealt me. I'm going to have to leverage as much vitality here as I can. And as we've seen in the past, these life overhaul lists are very good at doing that. This list is already playing things like carbo loading, the life gain mattering because of our character's ability. I believe even Luke's version is the one with Excited for Blood. So we have 2 copies main boarded. Like, there is a world where we can get back up to a healthy number just from eating all of these, and him holding on to that back alley haymaker is more important to him at this point, because he's going to challenge Emma to do as much damage as she possibly can so that he can backswing him, which is what Luke has been doing the entire tournament.
Yeah, he's been a very, very, like, build heavy, build efficiently, let you come into me, let you fail, and then, oh look, here's my 7 attack string, right? Here's every repeated in the world. So as long as we find the moves going into next turn, I mean, we have a back alley in hand that I'm sure we'll hang on to, because I doubt that Emma's ever going high. And then we have a Future Charge in the stage as well. So already we don't have a bad beginning to our string. And as long as we can find some heavy hitters near the end of it, that'll be what's really important. One of our fusions are down and one of our repeateds are down, but still plenty of threatening things left inside of the deck.
Yeah, we just don't have any momentum, right? So a lot of these moves are going to be base value aside from what Overhaul is going to give them himself by flipping our stage. I think that's kind of one of the coolest parts too about playing Overhaul is a lot of your defensive resources. I mean, look at this life staging area, right? Like, all of these cards are face up. That's not what we're used to on Overhaul boards, but you don't have to start flipping them over until you start actually dealing damage to your opponent. And by then, you don't need all the defensive pieces, right? So it's this very good, like, use the resources on my turn defensively that while they're face up, and then when it goes to your opponent's turn, we don't need them face up anymore, right? I think what we just kind of saw was Emma counting and looking at zones in our opponent's discard pile, because I think we've realized that, I'm allowed to build every low block that I ever see. But the passing the torch just being too strong of a foundation to not pass up.
Yeah, wow, what a strong build too. Failing the last manly there is a little unfortunate, but we also do stay out of deadlock in case anything scary comes from Luke's deck.
Yeah.
We definitely don't have anything on board. We're not running Plummeting Punch. We're not Plummeting Punch gamers, so nothing in our attacks. Is there a single deadlock card in Luke's deck?
It is only Ryukyu's agency trainees, which is basically getting to commit 2 foundations on a block essentially. But that is we also have practical studies at a 2 of. That is the other one.
Okay.
Which those are very strong deadlock abilities, but like you said, like, they have to be on board, and you're going to see them coming, right? So there was 100% a world where you're allowed to just build that manly by tapping something you didn't need. But
I would have committed 2 for that manly for sure. I think that was super worth it, especially if we've got like more than one foundation in our hand that we want to block with. Like, there's a world where we escape this turn unscathed, and actually with just an even bigger stage. And I kind of want to talk about the game state that we're heading into right here, Barrett. Both of these players already kind of have like a million foundations. We're already in a very, potential deadlock type of game state. Where both of them also have so much speed reduction on the board that it's going to be hard to imagine a world where strings get articulated and failing the blocks is going to come down and not having enough foundations to commit. I feel like we're just going to be able to commit foundations forever with what's going on between both of these decks, which means that the lethality and the aggressive strings and the damage is more likely to come from the randomness of the block zones and catching our rival without the right zones and catching them off guard, not prepared for every zone we could send. And when we're in a game state where that is the defining factor of aggressive strings, that's Mirio. That's all Mirio.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you more, Levi. I think the fact is like we did our once per turn on that future charge. Levi, I don't know if you know, I don't know if you remember, but there's another future charge that's face down in our stage. Like, we could have opted instead of we could have drew 3 cards instead of opting to build that new training method that was face down instead. But I think it's exactly as you stated. Luke, throughout the history that we've seen him on stream, is not afraid to respond with these new training methods because they become high blocks in our stage face down, and then we pick up whatever block we end up checking. But you got to check foundations, and they got to be the right zone for that to kind of matter. If not, you are solely reliant on these cooperation offers in our stage and things like face shield, which we checked but didn't have a new training method yet in our stage to pick it up.
How sad. How absolutely vile, man. So
Actually,
it
the
looks like,
biggest tragedy I've seen.
yeah, we're at what, 18 foundations now on Luke's end?
Yeah, it's a crazy amount, and it's
Exactly
exactly as you
18
said.
of
Like
them.
the amount of foundations doesn't necessarily matter if we just catch you with the right zones. But yeah, kind of here's that same situation. Hey, build every low block you see, Emma.
Yeah, yeah, build them all. Build them all. Put an area on board. Put another nice try on board and a high value target. Both of these act as two foundations when we're blocking, right? We effectively just put 4 more defensive points here. We've given Luke access to his deadlocks, but as we've already established, none of those are on the board yet, so we won't have to quite worry. And we still just haven't drawn anything close to like an effective string. Oh, okay, we're getting to put out a Riku's agency
Yeah.
trainees now, so at least a little bit of deadlock going on. Not the best in the world, but it is better than nothing. We have. See how he points at the. We're not picking that up.
Yeah, we did not pick it up, which is quite interesting because we're opting not for it. But the thing is like, we did point out that Ryukyu's is one of the few deadlock cards that he has in his deck, but it's not selective committal, Levi. It's very much just like your opponent gets to pick, and like, okay, we had another one, and that's the card you want to pick up, Levi.
Okay.
The practical studies, we didn't need it because we had one in our hand, right? So. But having that face shield is going to be a reason we stay alive. And again, just building even further with 4 more foundations to our already huge board.
Yeah, this board's massive. This board's super massive, but Emma's got a really, really strong health lead right now. So like Emma's allowed to play a lot more of her hand every single turn than Luke is.
Wow.
Granted, again, Luke's
Flex.
character, I know, right? Luke's character existing kind of says that we get to mitigate that quite a lot. Is this just a deck out game now?
I kind of wonder if that is the game plan. I think part of this problem is that, as we kind of saw with the last build turn, not necessarily on this one, but Luke has checked a lot of his attacks. This is a 20 attack deck out of the 62 that he is running. And it just could be a situation where, like, yeah, we're holding on to as many as we can, but like, I mean, that's the thing is, if Emma has that read, Emma's also been sculpting. Like she also just built 3 non-attack cards, right? I mean, an asset of two foundations. You can only imagine how aggressive is Emma's hand going to be here, which means if Luke wants to survive, you're going to lose those attacks that are in your hand.
You're going to lose your attacks in your hand, and you're going to start burning a lot of your resources, especially if it's the low blocks that you're going to come to rely on. Your cooperation offers. Sure, you can reset one every turn, but at the same time, like, even if you're embarking on like the deck out plan, you can also, as Emma, just start swinging a bunch. He's got a block, which means that he's just checking more. He's just making more checks and getting himself closer to the decking out plan. We have more foundations in our stage than we play attacks inside of our entire deck.
Absolutely.
We have a 22 foundation stage right now.
If I'm Emma, I actually love what's happening right here. She found 2 very important pieces. I think the deadlock on Taiyaki is very relevant against a character like Overhaul. He's not usually getting extra cards. Now you got to fight through 2 passing the torches, but I think the other card that was built, Cheerleader, is going to slow down this aggression turn from Overhaul. I think a lot of Emma's victory, I think, comes from this game. Like, as we've already hit this very wide staging area kind of turnout, is eventually, as you stated, I think Luke has to be the aggressor. I think the fact that Luke is constantly building into this wall, I think Emma is just allowed to now wait because she kind of took an edge. Yes, her deck is smaller, but she's sitting on it airy. She has 2 momentum. Luke is not mainboarding any momentum hate, so like those 2 momentum are safe. And you've built so wide in your stage that the difference in our deck sizes, when we eventually flip, you're going to have less cards in your deck total than I am.
And I think we just checked our last repeated, right?
I think that might have been it too, which is essentially
Barrett,
all of Luke's game plan.
Is there a worse turn we could have had? Build our only low block and check our last repeated. Oof. Oof.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not into it. I'm not in love.
This is some.
Sorry. Monstrous Fusion is a low block.
Oh yeah, you're right. This is some very hard universes. Okay. And don't get me wrong, I love playing UniVersus like this, but it's hard
It
because
is.
the fact that this is game one, this is finals of the regional license exam. Both of these players are very tired, and I don't think Luke necessarily wants to be doing this. I don't think Emma wants to be doing this, but like this is the way that the decks are going. Like even for Emma, that last turn, she built the asset and the two foundations 2 turns ago, right? Like I bet you she would have loved to have just gripped 6 orange cards, some of them being Valiant Assault, and play them all, right? I bet you she would have loved to have done that, but that's not what the deck said. And so yeah, you can see Luke being like, "Wow, you're also at the play one pass point." So that's what I'm saying. I think Emma is in more control than it might feel like. So the question is we're building that. What do we start doing here? Let's start adding more cards to our hand. We're going to start building more foundations, and I think this is actually a pretty key misplay a lot of the times is, you feel like you're stuck. You have to keep playing cards, and in the sense of we built 2 foundations. If Emma starts making the choice of just only building 1 every single turn, I think there's a big edge there.
And another big thing too, right? We have a self-sacrifice on Emma's stage, so she's able to actually
True.
start debuilding herself. I don't think that Luke has found a self-sac yet.
Release. We have a release.
We
So
do have a release.
There's some
Okay.
balancing there, but the thing
Right.
is a lot of Luke's power in his deck is keeping his foundations. Whereas, I mean, Emma has the ability with enough momentum and capture evildoers, things like pull no punches. Like we can play all of our cards without needing all these foundations. It's just a matter of when we pull the trigger. It's hard. It's scary. All these cards that are in Luke's hand are good cards, but they sure don't count to 28, even if he wanted to attack.
And I think that's kind of my issue with Luke's attack lineup is that when we check the 3 repeateds inside of our deck, we don't actually have anything threatening anymore, especially when we're in situations like this. This is where I like the cannon blast and the tongue whips a lot more. We kind of play 3 repeated smash, 2 monstrous fusion, and then 15 cards that set up repeated smash to kill people.
No, absolutely, and I don't think it's necessarily the worst game plan. I mean, there's always the flip, but you have to recognize that, and you have to not get punished along the way when you're trying to do that. I think the build one pass plan for Luke right now until we flip our deck and find those repeateds, but that's also the scary part is that when you go to that flip, what happens if X amount of repeated smashes get removed from the game? There's no coming back after that.
Yeah. If we lose those to the cycle, our attack lineup just isn't able to kill people anymore. And I agree. I don't think that Luke's attack lineup is the worst game plan in the world. I think it's really good. Obviously, it's been doing something, right? He's in the finals right now. The point more is just, man, this is where I'm starting to miss some of those other life attacks.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is one of those situations.
It is a situation where I really like his naval laser beams that he has in his sideboard, but they're not main boarded. This is game one. Like a card like that is a dual threat, or reusing some pieces once you get some momentum, having it even as a breaker block, in dire straits when Emma eventually tries to attack back. Like cards like that, I think you're right, are really good. Things that we've seen in the Andrew Holder version of the list, where we're playing things like Cannon Blast, to play at the end of a string. What do you do with all your ready foundations after repeated smash? Well, if they block the repeated, we need something else, right? There has to be a little more. There has to be an extra kaboom, whether it's a tongue whip or playing these other cards. But we've hard committed to the punches, and yeah, when all of our punches are in the discard pile instead of our hand, we had to have a new game plan.
Yeah, an immense value of playing all of those punches is that, like, sure, their effects are pretty solid, but a huge portion of those attacks value inside of our deck is just the fact that they are punches. And so because of repeated. And so when we're not finding repeated, we are actively just seeing less value from those attacks.
Yeah. So yeah, right before we went to play this new training method from hand on Emma's side, went through the discard pile, went to figure out exactly what was going on, because that was the last card in our deck. We checked the nice try, and it looks like we're going for our first cycle here on Emma's side. She's actually quite further ahead on the cycling than I had thought. Obviously, we don't have perfect knowledge being on this side of the webcam, but I do think Luke's deck is quite bigger and remaining cards left in, that the mill out strategy might not be what we can do here.
Yeah, there's a 7 card difference between the 2 decks, but so that pretty much makes sense because Luke's got 10 more foundations than Emma does. but Emma's also got an asset and 2 momentum. So that's where those other 3 cards come in for the 7 into the 10 and the cycle right now. The story checks out.
Yeah, it's really close. It really just kind of depends on what's going on.
Well, that's not great.
Yeah, it's double a million of the big 3, which is not on our board yet. So
No, those are our only
1
2.
Valiant.
1 attack out of 10 though
Yeah.
is not bad.
Okay, you say that, Levi, but I'm gonna hit you with but actually that means our checks are gonna be abysmal because we didn't remove the attacks, and we aren't checking a bunch of gray because they're in our stage. So I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, you don't want to see all your attacks get removed from the game, but you want to see a hefty kind of like a good even split sometimes. 3 attacks, 4 attacks, but
Nope. We want the attacks right now, bud. Our checks can be whatever they need to be. That's where our 16 foundations to commit come in. We need some 8 attack Valiant Assault hands right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard because I mean, when Emma eventually wants to play all these attacks, you're gonna start checking bad, and then all these foundations you built and you got going. The perk typically is that you get to play all these foundations, you get to attempt an attack turn. Even if you fail on the attack turn, if your attacks draw you cards, things like Valiant Assault, like you're gonna have to be able to have a good defense, but that only works if your stage is ready, right? If you've committed everything on the other end, then there's not really a way. I think actually, Levi, I think the point we've had in this game is whoever draws 6 orange cards first is the one that has to attack. And we know that Luke won't because there's at least 1 Faith Shield being held.
Right.
But we could enter a world where Emma draws only 6 orange ones, right? Or, including blue ones, I guess. You could draw Capture Evildoers. And a form has to be played. You must play a form. So eventually Emma was going to maybe have to be the first one to swing.
We're thinking about picking up our new training method with the new training method.
I mean, we might. It adds to cards in our hand, right? Which matters for when eventually somebody attacks. That's kind of what we've seen all game. We are opting to also play it.
How many foundations are left in our deck now? That's 27 on
stage board.
Now. All right. I got the board. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Move your hands. Consarn it. 22, 24, 28. We have 28 on the board.
There are 14 other foundations in his deck.
So that's pretty frightening. That's pretty frightening. All right, 29 coming in. Number 29 coming in. Yeah. Okay. 30 coming in. Number 30 coming in hot. Coming in hot.
And we're checking it, and we're flipping. Okay, so here is the key point. Luke has now kind of accelerated his card playing and picking things out of the discard pile. So this shuffle for him is a lot smaller than we think it is, which is going to turbo to the second cycle, which is
oh my goodness. Wow, triple repeated right off the top.
I don't want to say that I caster's cursed that a couple of minutes ago when we were talking about things being removed, but that was triple repeated smash getting removed. I think there's only one plan for Emma at this point.
Yeah. Luke can. I think there's one plan for Emma, and I think there's no plans for Luke. I don't think he can win the game anymore, Barrett.
I think his plan is to acknowledge. Man, this is so hard. I don't want to say that there's only one path to victory here, but I want to see if the path is Luke has to acknowledge that I need to start blowing up my stage.
Yeah.
And if he figures that out at the most ideal time, and Emma doesn't figure it out first and fast enough, there's a world, because of the cards that are on Luke's stage, things like Lost in Thought, things like Practical Studies, that we can turn off Emma's ability to blow up her cards, and we go free reign to blow up our cards. That also requires someone to play an attack whenever that happens. But I agree with you. I don't think there's enough gas in Luke's deck anymore to get there. It's not going to be heroic strikes. It's not going to be future charges, and we only have one repeated that we get to play. we don't get to use it for this massive powerful. We don't get to use it for this massive EX, but we finally see the first orange card thrown in quite a while now.
All right. You ready? You ready? Here's what we do here. We cheerleader this.
I don't hate that play, man. I don't hate
We
it.
cheerleader this. No release for you. You don't get to destroy your stage at all.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
What you
the
thinking
hard
about
part. I don't know.
Self-sacking? Sure. Okay.
That's
I'm
the
into
first
it.
enhance. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
It's man, she's got so many cards on her stage that there's a world where we actually trigger the flash ability on this.
Yeah, we have. No, I think we only have
self-sack,
one
face. There's another self-sack.
there. Okay, yeah, there are two self-sacks. Two self-sacks and face, I think, is it though.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And then yeah, so okay, so we can only get 3.
So close yet so far. Clearly, we just need to build all 4 self-sacks, right?
Something
There's
happened.
only 2? Uh-oh.
Oh, there's so many moving pieces. I don't even know what happened. We lost and thought it. Okay, that's what happened. We lost and thought it, and then we Tayaki'd and said nope, which again is worse for Luke. Tayaki is a response destroy, and lost and thought is an enhanced remove. So like again, speeding up this process for Emma. And again, if things are acknowledged and we just keep blowing up foundations quickly enough, like you said, we have one release on the side of Luke. I don't think there's another way to get rid of these foundations aside from just start using Overhaul. But then that also discards a card from your hand, and you don't want to do that either.
No, I don't think there's really like any way that you want to go here. Like we're just at a critical mass point where like there's just no relevant button presses. We have progressed past like the level of abilities on our cards being relevant in a game state like this. I genuinely don't think there's any world where any of our attack strings actually matter anymore. It's just a deck out game.
Yeah, I can't. I'll be honest with you, Levi. I've never looked at a game of UniVersus and thought that was the only game plan without it already being a sort of like mill deck, right?
Sure.
And this is a scenario where I don't think either of these would be qualified as a mill deck. And the way that the game has progressed, I 100% agree with you. And it's really hard for me, even as a fellow commentator with you, to agree with that sentiment. But when you see 10 cards removed off the top of your deck for your cycle, and those are the cards that you do, you look at the way that Luke's build is defined and all how the success of this deck is 100% on repeated smash. Levi, I didn't even realize it. There's only 3 repeated smashes in the deck. We aren't playing 4. I thought there was 4.
Nope.
And here I am thinking, when you finally commit to that offensive turn, those cards are committed and they're going to stay committed.
Yeah. There's no actual way out of this anymore, right? This is just the world that we're living in right now. And so Barrett.
Yeah, man.
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right.
Been well? How's the new job? Enjoying Omaha again? Yeah?
Yeah, moving back to Omaha is pretty nice. You know, funny enough, and I only say this just because he's not here, but like I moved to Omaha basically as Tam leaves Omaha. So no available collaboration of content in any way, shape, or form.
No, that's what we call a calculated move.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty good, you know, getting readjusted. For anyone at home, I'm a restaurant manager, so readjusting to a new team, you know, for any job is, you know, a little difficult. But in a restaurant as well, you know, I have to blend with my new managers. You know, we have to always be on the same page. So that's been a learning process, but we're a couple months in now, and it's doing pretty good. Levi. I love the videos that you've been coming out with, man. I know you've been traveling for Gen Con. Are you excited? What's coming up? Rochester, right?
Here's Barrett Bryant with the segue, y'all. Yeah, Rochester's pretty hype. I'm very excited for Rochester. That is going to be an absolutely amazing RLE. Have you seen the venue? Have you seen the shop, Millennium Games?
I have never been to the New England area of the United States ever in my life, actually, Levi.
Wow.
Yeah, it is on my two lists of doing it. I am getting a little bit of confirmation. Levi, I would love to talk about this with you. And hey, we might be able to in the future. We're getting confirmation from our tableside judge that we think Luke's going to go for it.
Confirmation is a strong term, but I will say it was ominous. I looked at our Discord little chat
my goodness,
with our judge, and they just messaged and said, Luke's going for it.
Yeah,
It's the most
but
ominous thing I have
I
ever read.
I cannot disagree with that Discord message though, because we also just used floating around my baby's enhance, which if there's any other way to commit deck seppuku in a deck out game, it is that enhance. So I don't disagree. I think this is the turn, right? I think but I I think Emma has enough tools to survive this turn. I don't think the fact that we have cheerleaders, we have an Airy, we have a Mirio commit ability, we have enough speed hate on the board to block anything that we want, even something like this monstrous fusion. How do you
Barrett, I think we could play every attack remaining in our deck this turn, and it would not be enough. I think we could literally play the. How many do we remove? 7, and we've got 2 built down. So
I
there's
was wrong.
11 left. We could play 11 attacks this turn. I don't think it would be enough.
I forgot. I said that we used. Brian's helping me out because I misplayed. I said that we used Floating Around My Babies. I also forgot the cost of Monstrous Fusion's +3 speed ability is remove the top 3 cards. So I'm sure Chad is blowing me up about it. But regardless, like. I mean,
hey, chat! You guys leave Barrett Bryan alone. All right,
this is a long game. We're doing our very best.
This is not the time for infighting. Okay, guys, we're all in this together. All right. You guys ever seen The Walking Dead? It's just like that. All right. Cannot fall apart right now. This is a crucial moment in our journey of this RLE together.
I will say the deadlock abilities are going to come in clutch. I mean, so a lot of this is, we've used double practical studies on this thing now, which
That's pretty epic.
It's very good. I mean, like, we've said great things about this card, and it really is having to come from its deadlock ability. And we're not only seeing 1, but we're seeing 2, right? That card also says seal a rival asset, and I was actually quite surprised, at least based off of the cards that are turned upside down.
Yep.
We did not pick the Airy.
No, we sealed Specialist of Sound and Cheerleader.
Yeah, so Cheerleader, I like that one. That's a good seal. Specialist of Sound, I could have done without because
I don't think Foundation count matters anymore.
Yeah, so
I mean
we'll
that 2 speed difference from a Specialist Sound committee for -3 speed. There's just no way that is ever more relevant than sealing the Airy.
Yeah, and so we have 1 more deadlock ability on the side of Overhaul, right? We have the Ryukyu's training agency, trainees, agency trainees. Sorry,
it's a weird name.
It is. Well, I want to say training agency, but no, they're agency trainees.
Yes, they are trainees of the agency.
Yeah, and I think that's we're at this point now in the round, essentially, in this game, that Emma knows that she's going to win on a deck out. So, just use all the best blocks in your hand, which are orange cards. Of course they are.
Yeah.
That's what we've been holding.
Mm-hmm.
So
holding our attacks is just not relevant anymore. We have double heroic strike, future charge, setup strike, or is that? Yeah, those are our 4 attacks right now, and even if those all hit, it's not lethal.
Yeah, that's
if Emma just goes catatonic for the rest of this turn. It's not lethal.
It's not lethal, but I still think it's close, right? The fact that and the reason I say that it's close is because there is triple carbo loading on the side of Luke, right? So at any point, if Emma taps her entire board, uses a Mirio enhance to set something too quickly, uses Airy when you're not supposed to, it could force the Airy even earlier, right? That's another thing is that we could talk about. All of those could be then turned on a dime, because if Luke does hit you with something tiny like a future charge or a heroic strike, 1 flip of a foundation readies those 3 cards, which is another 9 damage if he wants it to be, right? And if we plan it out strategically, right, like carbo loading doesn't have to commit itself. You can commit another foundation, so it could be an incremental 2 damage, 3 damage if we commit these Excited for Bloods. But I don't disagree with you. Like, with the cards currently in hand, if they all hit, don't get there, which means we have to start drawing more cards, which means we have to commit more things for Luke, whether it's the passing the torches, or even if we do hit our opponent, we have to start using things like Excited for Blood. But
Yeah,
this one we're trying to get to hit.
think the committing things is fine here. The main issue is that if we have to start drawing cards to try and find more attacks, I don't know if we'll have enough cards left to cycle. It looks like we have maybe like 10-ish cards in the deck right now, and our discard pile looks very small.
That is true because if you start drawing them, then they're stuck in your hand. Um, and as you're completely right, because we did not start defensively using releases, right? In the sense of like, hey, I need to start using this enhance just to have cards in my discard pile. And if you start that too late, sometimes that means your discard doesn't get big enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we know there's a future charge in hand. I think there's two. We have two future charges, or is it two heroics?
It's 2 heroics.
Two heroics, a future charge, and a release.
Yeah. I mean, a few attacks, we can get that board committed down, right? Emma's got substantially less foundations overall.
But I think, but it's exactly what you're kind of saying is like
out pretty hardcore to block this first one. Like we can send a few more moves in and get the board committed out, but then we have to like throw 2 of our nukes away, 1 to Airy, 1 to Mirio, and then figure out 28 after. I just don't know, man.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard because I think even after the board gets committed, let's say Emma only successfully blocks 2 or 3 moves, right? Like it's about how much damage do you have after that through the Airy, through the Mirio enhance, right? So you can sit here and even the self sacks, right? Like let's say she has to tap 5 cards to block this next one or something. Like you still got self sacks. Start popping away your whole board. You don't need all these cards. You're not killing him with attacks. You're just killing him when he runs out of cards.
Yeah, we're 100% on a deck out game plan now. As long as Luke continues swinging, of course. This is gonna be on a 5, 6, 7, 8. Another 3 on the tippity top. Holy cow!
I did say commit 5 to block this.
This is true.
Don't need those. The keeping area safes are actually kind of important in the sense of if we successfully block this, there is still a Ryukyu's training agency on board. And if we don't keep up the keeping area safe, it will actually just commit everything.
Yeah, I think we have to commit the passing the destined and the pull no punches. That way, if we respond Ryukyu right here, we can commit the 2 keeping area safes and then ready them back up.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's on an 8 though. You got to tap 5. So those 3. Yeah, I mean it's essentially tap everything but keeping areas, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Or you opt to fail this.
Yeah, you can also like just fail it.
And this is kind of where we're now on the other side, right? This is kind of what I said before. When Emma did her cycle, she only removed 1 attack.
Sure.
She's going to start checking them all. And that matters a lot when it comes to these checks on blocks. And so now we're ripping off these cards. So as you said, our deck is getting a lot smaller. Things did not get blocked. You cannot respond with that. But it was worth it. It was worth a shot. I mean, yeah. But yeah, we opted to save our foundations to block something in the future. We did. We're going to gain our vitality. That means we're going to get our carbo loadings back, which we've moved to the other side of the board to represent that they've already been readied. And then, yeah, we're going to eat a hefty chunk there. 9 damage from it.
I mean, it's okay. Again, we're gonna need a lot. We're still gonna need a whole lot of our famous 6 damage moves to get there. Our carbo loadings will help a lot. Like Emma does definitely need to make some correct decisions throughout this turn. It's wild how important it is right now, but I really wish I had deck counts from both the players.
Yeah, no, I agree because it's incredibly dependent on how many things happen, right? So like even this back alley enhance, right? There's a world where you just don't use its enhance. Don't build a foundation from your discard pile. Don't draw a card. Thanks. What a homie. We're about to get a message. We're gonna be told how many cards are left in deck.
No. Please don't start counting decks. No.
I'm saying he fanned them out, I think, for our tableside judge, and I think our judge will inform us. But yeah, these are all starting to, rack up pretty quickly. Funny enough, I know I said Airy, but Airy doesn't work, right, against Overhaul? No, it does. Does it not? Block and damage. Block and damage. Help me out. I gotta look. Block and damage.
Ari
Before
says
the damage.
before
Okay,
the
we're
damage
good.
step. Yeah, we
Okay.
have yet another after the block step
Yeah.
before the damage step situations here.
Yeah. Okay, so I just
You
had
know,
to double check.
It would be very strange if Ari was designed not to work against Overhaul because she's literally what beats him.
Which is so funny because Eri is not designed to beat Shigaraki.
That is also funny. You know what?
Shigaraki burns.
Even funnier on the inverse side of things, Mirio Enhance does not beat Overhaul because he doesn't beat Overhaul.
Also true. Yes, that is
Dude, the
also dramatic.
layers, the
Yeah,
layers.
there's a lot of layers in this game. Man,
Dude,
design team,
design team been feasting on these onions, bro. The layers, the layers.
Alrighty. So yeah, this is a hefty guy. 3 speed, came in with the setup strike. We gave it 3 damage with the carbo loading. I don't know. We're reading release, I guess. Oh, maybe double checking. Hey, does that count for both blocks, or
yeah?
Does it say your block?
There's a lot of this attack and your attack, and verbiage like that. I recently learned a lot of those in the chaos symbol because I I sometimes fire releases on my chicken kicks just to get more enhanced passes.
True.
But I can't fire my nice tries on them because nice try says this attack.
It does say this attack. You know what else does? Basic trainings say this attack.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do.
Huh. Well, I'll be darned.
Yeah, so it's you gotta figure it out sometimes. So what do you think? Are you blocking this back alley, or are you eating this one?
I feel like I'm just blocking this. It's what, 7 speed? I don't see a reason to block it.
On a 9, even if you check a 5, let's say with a 1 mid. I mean, you're committing as many cards as you would have on the last one, right?
Yeah, dude, I'm just gonna double self-sack everything until it's lethal.
That's fair. I mean, that means we're gonna get another proc here from Overhaul, which means we are gonna be able to ready the 3rd carbo loading. So again, yeah, there's a world where we just get to match the self-sack energy, right? So this 19 vitality is not going to carry us very far, but I agree with it in the sense that these are the heaviest hitting moves that we've seen, right? These are all the 5 damage based moves or higher, with Monstrous Fusion being 6. After this, they kind of start dropping off, right? Future Charge, a little bit weaker. Heroic Strike, a little bit weaker.
It's like the reason I think I think the correct way to embark upon this turn is, double self-sacking everything until it's lethal. Because then you kind of just like force them to have to try and set up lethal moves, and then that's when you can cash in the Mirio button, and then if you fall into that spot again, the Eri button, right? Like you have to make them sell out 3 times for a lethal move, and we only get to carbo loading so much.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you in that sense. I do also think there's a world. It's all about how many cards are in the deck and how many cards we're allowed to play. He did opt for the draw here on the back alley, so like that's one less card. Like because there's not gonna be a situation where we can't commit cards to pass them, right? It is strictly gonna be a situation of how many cards do we get to play.
Which is why we haven't fired off any of our passings yet.
Yeah, and so but currently with what's in our hand, it's still not enough, like you said, right? We have to overcommit on one thing. We have an Eri. We have to overcommit on something. We have Mirio. I will say if we get too low, the Mirio dance is harder to pull off, right?
Yeah.
Because you can get triple carbo loading after you zero it out. You can get self-sacked on the other end, plus the overhaul response. So like the Mirio one is the least consistent one.
You just got the build from hand.
Yeah, and I think that's the insurance of
sure. Yeah.
Or it could have been even an attack from our hand, right? Like, hey, I need this so we can play on a non-prog. But like I said, I don't think the foundation count is going to be the reason we lose. But the further we go into this turn and the lower that Emma's vitality gets, I actually think Luke is going to pull this out.
It's certainly becoming more and more possible with this heroic strike coming in with a hot commit 3, getting to ready both of the keeping. Have we readied those this turn?
We did on the stun 2 from the back alley.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of where we're seeing the staging area discrepancy, right? And the attack package that comes from Luke. Yes, we got rid of our repeateds. We can't rely on that card anymore to get as a win condition. And now our only win condition is whittle enough damage, use these tiny moves to get there, and while we're doing that, we have to commit our opponent's entire stage.
Yeah, I mean, we have the second heroic strike, so it can certainly happen. I think the question is, have all 3 carbo loadings been readied this turn, Barrett?
They have. This is the next
Okay.
time that these are used, it is the last time that they will be used, which is honestly, I in my opinion, a situation where you should start committing these other cards, right? Like, I mean, commit the whatever, the Excited for Blood. Like, you're not allowed to draw any more cards. Like,
I can't believe we haven't used the Ryukyu yet.
I think it's, saving it for that last ditch effort of when Emma tries to sneak in a block on you, right? Because
Yeah.
because
like
when
a trap door.
yeah, being like, oh, well, she's eaten the past 2. So like, is she gonna keep eating these? I'm gonna try and get these as close to lethal, right? So like, this one's at 7. It's technically not lethal, right? Because we're gonna self-sack. The overhaul response only gets you so far.
Yeah, if we release and self-sack on every single move, we are slowly going +1 card, right?
Yes.
We're putting 2 into our discard pile, but we're also making 1 check, right? We're bringing 2 back into the deck, but we're taking 1 out by checking. So we are slowly going in the long run here. We just have to make sure that we don't get trapped by a cycle and deck out scenario.
Yeah, and then at the same time, while we're doing this, we have to make sure that we have the right. We have to keep playing attacks to do that, right? So let's say we started the turn with 6 attacks on our deck, or I think we started maybe with 8. We drew a card though, so like on the next one, it might be our last situation of blowing up foundations, and then that's when that number matters. How many did we cycle back into the deck? Is it 1? Is it 2? Because if it's 1, you get 1 more, right? You get the one you played essentially. But if it's 2, you're allowed to play 1 more card.
Yeah, so we're in a weird spot now where this magical 10 damage number has found lethality, and I don't think that we can guarantee a block here. If we check bad, we have to commit our character, right? This is a 6, 7, 8, 9. Is Phantom Thread a +2, right?
I believe it is. Yeah, pulling it up. Yeah, so it's a base 3 speed move, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we had to tap.
So I love this. I love this block because it says we don't get screwed by a second heroic strike or any stun for that matter whatsoever. And it says that your Ryukyu agency just got completely wasted. I really like that block. I was thinking that we might get punished here by like eating this and going fairly low, and then getting hit by the second heroic strike commits us out, and then 3 moves kill us, right? Which I think we can perform 3 moves.
Yeah, I think the problem is that this. Sorry, no, I think you're right. I think the problem here is that this one can get to lethal if we want it to. No, you're right. It's 3 moves. You need 3 moves, and he opted for the draw once again. And like, here's the thing: all 3 of the moves have to be lethal.
Yeah.
Which like is easy after the area is used, but like the area is the last thing you do. If this one's not lethal, it has to be off. It has to be off by 2, right? Because I mean, area is not usable if you're at 1.
Sure. Yeah. So a 9 damage move effectively counts as lethal once we're factoring in Airy into the equation. I think the issue is we only have that 1 carbo loading usage left.
Because I think as soon as you do that, it's in range, right? And then you Mirio enhance, and like, what do you do? Like, it's not enough. And then the next thing gets airied, right? I think it's the perfect math, right? I think it's the situation where Luke has to play 2 more orange cards, and I see
we
2.
do have them.
I see them. 2, but I don't know how many cards are in the deck.
Yeah, so we're going to bring it down to 0 now. I think the issue is that we have to floating, and then that might mess up our exact cycle math, right?
I don't think we have the floating, right? We have the self-sack, which...
That's true. Yeah, I think the self-sack makes
close.
I think the self-sack makes it exactly, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have the 2 cards in our deck. I think our discard pile is now big enough when we play the next one. I think Luke can get there.
Yeah, we have what? So we have to play our 2 more moves, right? So then as long as there's more than 10 cards inside of our deck right now, we should be okay.
Yeah, so you have to discard pile. So self-sacking this and then responding overhaul puts our opponent to 7. which means that regardless of what the next one we play is, it gets the airy proc, and then the last thing kills.
Yeah, I think that checks out, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, and that's even with a deck flip, because I think we've now entered enough. Okay, so we opted without the self stack. I also still think the math gets there because of Overhaul.
Yeah, and even if we check rolling threes, we can just commit 11 foundations. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, that still leaves the self sack up, so we're fine there. We're fine on that front.
Yeah, I mean, the self sack doesn't even matter, I think, on the last one, right? Because they're going to be at 1. So yeah, checking the 5 here. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That math is kind of doesn't matter. But we still need to press all the buttons.
We definitely cannot pass up a button press. I think Luke's got this in the bag, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to get there exactly, and I think it's also. I don't know. Again, I don't have any cards in our discard pile, but like, after this, whatever the amount of the cards left in our deck after we cycle, it doesn't matter, right? Because that's the last one.
Yeah, we're going +1 within the context of our deck size on every attack
4,
so
5,
far.
6, 7. Wait, I mean, yeah, this doesn't matter. Yeah, even if it's exactly 1 off, it doesn't matter, right? Because again, once you go to 1, Airy can't be used. So, because awkwardly enough, Levi. Okay, yeah. So wait, we opted for the floating. I hope that. I mean, you didn't need to do that. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it. No, because we can just flip with Overhaul.
You're gonna flip with Overhaul. And
yeah, we didn't need to.
They have to Airy, right?
Yeah,
use Airy or it's unusable, right? But like, they don't even have to use the Airy. But I mean, I sure hope that floating is not the reason you lose. I mean, they have deck counts, they have all that stuff.
No. We have way more than 10, because like 2 attacks ago, we fanned our discard pile out, and it was definitely at least 10. Now there's like 6 more
13,
cards in there.
Yeah.
Because we've been releasing
we overhaul once per turn here. Okay, yeah, it was on a 5.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a back alley. We always did have that once per turn still. I'm gonna commit 2 here, and then yeah, this should be it. As long as there are more than 10 cards in that deck.
Oh my god, can you imagine how insane that would
2,
be?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And then that looks like it's gonna be. Can you believe it, Levi? Game 1.
We did it.
Did it. Quick, plus ultra block. On a 7. No, I'm kidding.
Check a 7.
All right. Wow. Very methodical. And I'm not going to say that I told you so, but that's exactly how Luke has been winning this entire tournament right now. And that was off the hands of not playing repeated smash.
Hey, look, mathematically, right? I watched this guy play 7 attacks on like 10 foundations before. So with 30 foundations, I actually expected 21 attacks.
That's
and
fair.
like I only got 7 that turn.
That math does scale that way, right? That's not how the game, progressive difficulty doesn't, make that kind of math not work.
Nope.
But
I think we should have just manifested 19 more repeated smashes into our deck.
That was a very important win, though, because I think so Luke went first, you have to remember. So, and it did look like dire straits for him going into that entire turn, right? Or just the game in general, as things kind of took a very, very big slowdown. So now the pressure is Emma doesn't get to do a game plan like that again. And obviously, she probably doesn't want to, because it didn't work out. And on top of that, Luke's deck gets better in the matchup after the sideboard comes in.
Yeah. Looks like we're going for a bathroom break here.
I don't blame them.
Oh, no bathroom break? Maybe he's just relaxing.
She said no.
We got some
I want this over with. I'm tired of these long matches.
We've had a heaping amount of 50-minute game 1s throughout this weekend, man.
Hey, I'm just saying, regardless of how this goes, if we're done, I mean, it's 12:50. So, I mean, the day is young. So, regardless of how long this takes, either happy hour starts at some of my favorite restaurants, or I can still make a good lunch special. So, like, I mean, regardless, we're doing okay.
What if they were discussing a cooperation offer? What if Luke was like, "Hey, look, best of 1, but best of 1, but you get the mat. You get the mat. We'll call it right here."
No. I don't think that's the play. Of course,
Cooperation offer. And Levi gets to go to sleep. Cooperation
Also,
offer. Cooperation
also,
offer.
I'm pretty sure in the UVS floor rules not allowed. So for integrity, we must continue.
Well, you see, those are the US rules, right?
Oh,
It's
right.
in the name, right? In the UVS rules, the
Oh
U and
my
the S in there
goodness.
actually means it's the US rules. We actually have to refer to the UVK rules, right? The United
That's right.
Kingdom rules. Yeah.
I have forgotten that the V brings us together. That's right.
It
That is.
brings the Stampedes and the Typhoons
Oh my
together,
goodness. I can't
right?
believe.
hmm Yep. hmm
Speaking of which, I wasn't at Gen Con when those cards were revealed. Are you
It's pretty
excited for
awesome.
those?
Yeah, dude. I love Bebop. I love Bebop and I love Trigun. I think those are like literally the perfect licenses to bring back like, standard as a concept with, because like we're all about animes now, right? But
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
we're staying true to like our pre-UVS, our Jasco Day animes where we do like these cool 90s animes that are really popular for their dubs. You bring back Bebop, and then you hit Trigun, which fits that criteria perfectly. And like thematically speaking, Vash versus Spike, yeah, dude, literally perfect. Couple of bounty hunting 90s anime dub boys. No, I love it. I'm so excited.
No, absolutely. So my follow-up question and is I ask you this, and I'm sure you've been asked a million times, is what do you think the second character for these decks are going to do based off of what the first character does? Because you have to think, right, following the rules of the game and the way that they're going to become as pre-made decks, right? They have to have similar mechanics, but the characters can have different symbols, right? But they just have to share one. They just have to share one symbol.
Sure.
So when you look at a character like Spike and you be like, oh, face downs. Okay, yeah, that's very interesting. Look at those symbols. Which of these symbols relate to face downs? What's the shared symbol? But then if you move to the other two symbols, you can completely change what the character does with what the support of the deck could be, right? So I'm asking you a pretty difficult question while we watch our players' sideboard, essentially, in the sense of, what do you think the extra character for those decks would do?
Man, so it's really hard, right? Because we talk so much about the symbols, but we don't even know their symbols yet. So it just gets even more difficult to figure out like what could be like unifying them on that front.
Yeah.
Especially when like both of those those IPs, both of those characters, right? Those franchises have like a couple really good choices for that second character. The Bebop deck could easily be, Jet, Faye, Vicious. I'm for sure rooting for Vicious out here because like that's my boy. I'm a big
Kind of do the callback to the rival decks back in the day, right? That we had, which was Spike versus Vicious. 100% agreed. But so I guess you're right. We don't have the symbols, but you can guess, right? I would hope that Spike has like either the water or the earth symbol, right? The two most prevalent symbols in the game that deal with face down foundations, right? So in that sense of that guess, they probably either have to share that symbol because a lot of the deck identity will be around that. So we were kind of like, I was brainstorming with friends, it's like, well, what if they shared the water symbol? And let's say they were like a little thematic on, the old versions of the Cowboy Bebop decks, right? So you have a Spike character that used to have water and uses face downs, and you had a character like Faye who also had the water symbol, but Faye did not use face down foundations. So the point was like, could you make that the extra character and then you kind of like make the support within the deck work with those mechanics that the other character really likes, but still keep them fresh? Because, you're coming out with this very cool product where you get to take in these IPs from all these separate universes, right? And, throw them into our competitive formats. And because there's a whole separate character with it, you can change the whole identity of the deck.
Right. Like for, a really even cooler example, right? Spike is all about face downs, right? In our new format, in MHA format, Earth is like the face down symbol. So maybe the other character is Vicious, but then and he's also got the Earth symbol, right? But then maybe he does like the other side of it and he wants to flip your rival stuff and he scales for either player's face downs. So that way the cards in the main deck can flip your own stuff and it'll be beneficial for both of them in totally different ways, right? I
You're
don't know,
way
man.
you're way better at this than me, and that makes a lot more sense because it makes more sense. But Spike didn't have Earth, right? So, but they're
Okay,
not
okay,
held to
okay.
that, so they don't have to do that. But that is
Yeah,
actually
it's a
exactly
new
what
era,
Vicious
baby.
did, right? Vicious
Oh,
lost
really?
vitality, and he said, if you don't block this, I draw a card, and he also interacted with he made your opponent flip foundations
I
essentially.
love that. Look, dude, look, I'm just a little snake and I'm trying to become the dragon. You know what
I
I'm
see.
saying?
Did I get my exclusive scoop right here on my finals cast with Levi Lavon?
What the debut of me being an official Vicious fanboy?
Whoa, are you actually?
I love Vicious. I think
Oh,
Vicious
okay,
is
okay.
awesome. I love Vicious. I will cry. I will cry if the other character is not Vicious, but I will accept
Oh,
it.
that's fair. That's fair. Hey, man, there's just no pleasing you. Finally get Hawks and your Jet Burn set coming out. You've been waiting on this character, and nah, you're just upset because you don't get Vicious.
Yeah, no,
That
we've
doesn't
moved on.
happen.
We've moved on. It's all about the anticipation. All right, Barrett. Hawks is here already. All right, so I'm over it. We don't
It's
care about
over.
it
You haven't
anymore.
even played it.
That's
You
true.
don't even
That's
know what
true.
you don't even know his cards.
That's true. That's true. Hey, look, all I know is that guy says that you have 2 weapons every turn for Blood Moon Rending, and I'm full coping again now.
Whoa.
We took the first Ed XR Blood Moon Rending set right out the binder day 1, and we're ready.
I can't believe you're still trying to make your stain cards work.
Dude,
That was the first thing you thought of.
Blood Moon Rending. Yeah, dude, it's so funny because everyone was like, "Oh my god, buy Levi, did you buy all your XR focused attacks now? Are you so ready to play focus attack Hogs?" And I'm like,
No.
what do you mean?
Blood Moon
Oh yeah,
Rending.
sure. He gets 2 mids, but like he gets 2 weapons. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
You're
saying?
crazy, man. I can't believe this. You know what's even crazier about that play is that you don't even have to play both of the feathers, right? You just add them to your card pool. I'm kidding. I don't know. Just kidding. Who knows? What I mean, we don't even know what they do, but who knows? We just know that they exist,
They
and
certainly
I hope that they
exist.
add them in.
Nah, dude, they're sick. I'm
What's the
excited.
foundation do? I don't remember. It was on the art article, right?
Yeah, it's not finalized, so I didn't bother
Oh, that's
memorizing
fair.
it because I was like, it might change. Who knows? Who knows? It just more than likely, Hawks is a foundation called Number 2 Pro Hero, right?
Oh, for sure.
That part probably not changing.
Which is so sad because we're just enunciating how he's only number 2.
Nah, dude, he's more than content with it. He's trying to be the producer behind the number 1 hero, man. My man's just chilling. He's just trying to be Endeavor's producer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I don't disagree with you. He looks really cool. Very much not my kind of symbols though. So you can have the Hawks
Dude,
fame.
that's how I felt, man. I was like, he doesn't have air. What is a Levi to do? What is a Levi to do?
You say that, but I feel like I very rare. Aside from your Ochako days, I don't see you play air very much anymore.
Dude, that's like all I play. You never play my Mr. Compress deck, dude? That deck is sick.
No, I did not. I've not.
It plays
I've
like
never
11.
seen you play that character.
It plays like 11 attack turns.
What?
Yeah, because you you get 6 attacks in your hand, then you have like 5 of the momentum. You put some meteor showers in there, you grab it or use it. It's a cool deck.
Not in my universes. Ain't no way that's happening.
I mean, yeah, you do have to get to like turn 9, which definitely doesn't happen when you're playing like real decks. But we live in Christmas land over here. We live in fun land over here.
That's
right?
true. We are getting close. All right, we are starting up. Okay, mulligans have happened.
We got some forms, lads. We got some forms.
We do. These are some good ones, though. We finally found Lemillion of the
Oh god, I'm
3.
sweating. I was sweating on that nice try, dude. I was not ready for
too.
the build 2 to come in on this. Oh my goodness. Definitely got some
so
good ones on the board, though. Holy cow.
yeah.
We saw Lemillion, one of the big game changers. I think it's wild this card is only a 2 of an in his deck. I think you 4x this card because of how good it is in Mirio. And if you draw more than 1, oh well. You got a dead card in your hand. Sucks.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you can't blame her because it has unique on it, and so I don't fault the deck choice. I really don't disagree with that. I think 2 of that card is pretty good. I think it was unfortunate last game that we saw them both removed off the top of the deck on the first cycle. So like, yeah, there's some hindsight bias of like, oh, if only I played 3, right? But you could have also just removed the 3rd one if you played the 3rd one.
This is true.
It's hard. I mean, but we only have 3 foundations. 4 on the other side. I got a Peak Seas, and I know that Luke has an evading copy, which means they have, of course, come in from the sideboard. As I said before, we did all the shuffling and all the mulligans. Luke's matchup here only gets better. after the sideboard comes in. We have things like instant Shining Flash that have come into the deck now. I do like Naval Laser Beam in the deck. I do hope that they also kind of made a way in, hopefully. But the evading copies, the extra Faith Shield, those are some really big, important pieces that we now have to look forward to.
Yeah, and with the opening the cooperation offer is also really huge here because it means that like unless you attack me several times a turn now, I will loop this one cooperation offer for a hot minute and you're really going to lose out on like that early game poke value. It also means that like basically Luke doesn't actually have to like hold his low blocks for a minute now. He can actually play them. He can actually build out the majority of his hand because he gets to rely on that cooperation offer until the capacity to attack on Emma's side of the table exponentially increases. And as we only build 3 and have to commit 2 on our opening move, it's not going to be increasing this turn. The exponents are not going to be present for a minute.
Yeah, no, it's hard too. I mean, I think Luke had a very, very well played counter response, which is, hey, I'm going to activate my Lost in Thought here as well, actually. Pick up this card that you committed because you started with the stun, and I'm going to get rid of the piece that you decided to keep up. Immediately also goes into the evading copy block, resetting this thing to its base zone and speed for a very easy deterrent here. So I think Luke did a great job, but yeah, Emma seeing that play opted to keep it. And I think for a second Luke just said you drew the other one, and Emma's like, no, I just didn't build it back down. I'm gonna play it again.
That's so funny. What goes around comes around, bud. Yeah, I mean that was fine. We got an evading copy out the way, which I think is actually kind of better than Luke having flipped the cooperation offer because now it's not here to reset. Which sure, that does mean Luke can do other things with his ones per turn now, but it means we got permanent value, right? That evading copy is out of the hand forever.
Yeah, I agree. And the hard thing too is, and what I honestly think would have been maybe even a more punishing attack for Emma to have played aside from back alley was instead if that was a rewind throttle. We saw her do a similar play against Greg last round when Tam and I were commentating, where instead of leading with a back alley, she led with a rewind throttle and just selectively committed the cooperation offer. And so you didn't have to deal with it. You're not allowed to use this resource. You have to have something else. And the turn that she did that, she cashed in like 14 damage because she also zone checked Greg. And it was a very good play. So obviously, play the cards you're dealt. That probably wasn't in the cards this time, but I bet you she would have much rather have played like a rewind throttle, checked a 3 on that, only commit 1 card, make Luke use all these resources, and hey, still say that you have to have something else.
I think Rewind Throttle is so good, man. That card is a 4 diff that, yes, it gets the usual 4 diff 8 points of stats, but it gets them in a very, very poke slanted way with the 5 speed 3 damage. Usually it's like the other way around, right? 5 speed. How many 5 speed 4 diffs do we have, Barrett?
Not a lot.
It's not many.
Honestly, while you talk about random things, I could probably figure out that exact number for you right now.
I would genuinely love to know because I feel like even when I see 5 speed on 5 diffs, I'm like, now that's a sick number right there. That's a sick, nasty number. Heck, we played Long Lasting Explosion for so long because of that number right there on it. And then it just gets to target commit something for free and replaces itself. And then if you have like a character like Eraserhead who discards but doesn't actually lose cards from it, you just get a +1 out of it as well. You don't have to target commit. I think that card's so good. And sure, it's a measly 3 damage, but it's a punch. Odds are you're playing a punch character who's gonna put damage on it. It's so good for like the decks it wants to exist in.
Yeah, and I have your answer right away. Some of these cards are pretty good, but some of them are fine. But the number one, we'll start with what I think to be the peak of the list. So obviously we have Rewind Throttle, one of these new pieces. I'll hit you with a Nitro Explosion Ignition.
Sure. Yep.
That one's really good.
That's like a reason that card gets played, right? Because it's just a 4 diff 5 speed attack that can kick itself out the card pool.
Yeah,
people play it just for those words.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll hit you with a new one also while we have Mirio and Overhaul on the field. Phantom Cross.
This is true.
That one's really good because of the 3 base damage package you have. Because things like characters like Uwabami can play that thing, and it'd be very, very strong. But anyway, let's go back to the game because things are happening now. I think
throwing hands.
Yeah, the Phantom threat here I think is really good. This is going to get us some momentum. You saw us block with the capture evildoers last turn, so we've lost out on one of those for sure. But this is going to get us a snap momentum, which I think is so important in two fronts. It's a momentum to use offensively, where we can use an EX if we need to. I mean, you could play another Phantom Threat. It has powerful on it. It's going to leave the card pool. But when you play Phantom Threat, when you have a Lemillion of the big three on the board, this thing gets fast and it hits hard.
Yeah, it gets real big and real fast at the same time. This thing is going to wear a whole lot of stats. I think that's the most powerful part about this card, though, is that snap momentum, because it just says that, like, hey, when you're ready to kill him, here's your immediate resource and that card pool clear. Busted. When it's just a poke turn, cool. You get your momentum for your Mirio enhance, even if they full block you. It's so good. Do you want to know, Barrett, a little trivia tidbit about not necessarily this card, but the name itself?
What's that?
So when Mirio uses this attack, he uses it one time in the series, and it's when he kind of comes back around and beats Sakaki and Nemoto in the hallway as he's trying to make his way to Overhaul and Chrono. And if you watch the anime in Japanese, in the subs, when you read the name of this attack, it will say Phantom Threat. But if you listen to what Mirio says, he actually says Phantom Menace. Those are the words he speaks. And it's because Horikoshi is a massive Star Wars fan.
Oh,
Yep.
I love that.
Yep. But when the localization comes in, they were like, we probably shouldn't keep that. We don't want to get sued.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, good call on not naming it that. We don't want Star Wars coming after us. So, love that for the manga, the Japanese, and I love that. That's fantastic. Very thematic. It was funny enough, while you were saying this, I'm like staring at the card on the screen and being like, who are those two characters in the background? Who are those flailing bodies around? And then you said Sakaki and Shinomoto, and I was like, oh yeah, that looks like them.
Yeah, he does toss them around quite a bit. It's a very, very, very brutal move. Now here's our favorite. Here's our rewind throttle coming in.
Yeah, just a clarification. Most people are like, why didn't this leave? We did not declare the effect on the card, which is fine. I actually think that's okay, because it means if we have another one, we can snap that to momentum instead, because we didn't use its ability, which is still fine. I think it's great. It also sets up for a combo, so it's not a misplay. I'm not going to call it that. There could have easily been a Valiant Assault or a Texas Smash coming in, and we do need a combo requirement for that. Hey, and we always have our pull no punches if we really want to sneak it over.
Yeah, our judge did come in and let us know personally that we actually did just forget to press the Phantom Threat button.
Okay.
Which is still okay. I think the only people more tired than you and I, Barrett, are these two players right here. Because as hard and difficult as casting that 30 foundation game was, promise you, it was much, much more of a brain wrinkler to actually play through it. It's been a very long weekend of UniVersus for everyone involved in this production, and I'm not about to blame anyone for anything whatsoever.
Nah, I think it was planned. I think she's big braining us right here. I genuinely think that, and I didn't even read that before I had said it. But yeah, we did get a full block on the rewind throttle, but we do have to, expend some choices there, because I mean it was pretty fast. Eri coming in. We are going to still get a momentum from the Phantom Threat.
Yeah, we're going to walk away with our resource no matter what.
Yeah.
It is going to cause us to commit a little bit, which could come back to bite us in the butt, but I still feel pretty good about this turn. We got some damage in. We progressed our game state a little bit. And it's kind of, I don't want to say I don't think the pressure is on quite anyone yet. I think it's still very much anyone's tempo to take in this game. These guys are both kind of just going through the motions so far, and we haven't really seen any like serious impact put just on the table yet.
No, absolutely. So yeah, that was kind of so as I'm kind of getting a quick look at Luke's hand, the instant Shining Flash is for sure the card that I was looking for him to draw. Whether he's going to save it for a block or use it offensively here, it's really just dependent on what the rest of it looks like. And it looks like this is going to be a pretty similar turn to the last one that Luke had. Just playing with future charges, get some incremental value, because as Luke has shown, like, this is Emma's game that she has to win to stay in it, right? I don't think there's a lot of pressure on Luke here to have to overcommit. I don't think we have to sit here at another 30 foundation game, because Emma is going to have to pull the trigger to try and pull out a win here, because if not, I mean, Luke's going to take the set.
It's it's funny you say that, the pressure is not on Luke right now. He's not pressured right now. I feel like I haven't seen this man be pressured the entire event. I
Yeah.
feel like he has been so chill, calm, and collected and calculated throughout his blocking, his strings, his decision making. I feel like I feel like there's just been utter confidence in everything he's done so far throughout this event. I really cannot say that I'm surprised to see him in the finals.
As a Tokoyami player, I've never seen a man more casually collected and cool-headed than someone like Luke, who is consistently across almost every game we've seen him on webcam have 6, 7, sometimes 8 attacks in his card pool. Like, not once, not even me. Couldn't be me. I need blue cards to make that happen, and he just kind of puts them down.
Yeah, he's got the magic secret rare one, man.
Yeah, he does.
Colors are all irrelevant in the face of the almighty repeated smash.
Hey, you take that back. Phantom Threat is playable in Tokoyami. We can do that too,
Yeah, you playing some what is it, unrivaled combatant?
No. We just give a lot of incremental damage.
Oh, sure. We're not even trying to change the zone.
Who cares? Yeah,
we're just trying to make it a flash. 19 enhances in.
I think a 9 mid for 10 that draws you a card is pretty good.
I'm into it. Hey, but have you played JJ's fire build?
Yeah, I don't know. That one's very Casino Yahtzee. There's nothing wrong with that. I just,
Casino Yahtzee.
I think so. Yeah, no, 100%. I think the Casino Yahtzee on the fire symbol is very much like, did I draw Sugar Rush? Did I mill this Lust for Battle? Which, like, our deck is small. Like, we're gonna get there. Did we draw the cards we needed to? Which is fine. It's fun. Your games are quick. You're gonna have a pretty easy day in a tournament. But yeah, I do prefer the Chaos game plan. I do think it's very fun, and it has a lot of answers, and some of the cards overlap, but not a ton. Like if you like the Todoroki cards, you still get to play them. You still have a good time.
And the third cooperation offer coming down here. You said this wasn't going to be a 30 foundation game, Barrett. I don't think it'll quite be that, but holy cow, Luke's defense feels like locked in and then some. There's no more of this like turn 2 and 3 in game 1 where it felt like we were kind of like scrambling to find our blocks and stuff like that. No, we are pretty helmeted up and bunkered up right now. Are we? Did we swap phones there?
No, we did not. We had a request in the Discord for the brightness to be turned down on Luke's phone, and we thank you, Luke, for finishing your turn and lowering the brightness so that we can see vitalities across the board. I'm sure the viewers appreciate that. I know I appreciate that, and I'm sure our buddy Brian over on production also appreciates it, so that we can update these vitality totals.
This is true. Brian is the one. Whenever you guys yell about life totals, it's Brian. It's Brian's heart and soul that you are cutting deep into. Right? So you have to know that. Okay.
I will say, leading with the Texas Smash here is not the best, right? I'm going to quote the words of you, Levi, and the other casters that you've had in the past. Sometimes when you lead with the Texas Smash, they are either the best of turns or the worst of turns.
Right. We either have another Texas to follow it up with, or we have a Valiant and we value the card draw much more, or we just have nothing, and this is the most Hail Mary thing. Honestly, even if we have a Valiant like to follow this up with, if we don't draw more attacks after that, we're certainly not like sneaking damage through this turn. I think no matter what we've got to follow this up with, it's sus, Barrett.
I think what's a little more sus, we just built a card down from our hand, which puts us at 11. We're staring at a pull no punches across the board.
Ooh, that's a little spooky. That is a little spooky.
No, not spooky. Pull no punches. No.
We are.
Sorry. It's late. And what I mean by late is it's 1 o'clock.
It's very early, but for us, we've been up since 3-4-ish for when we needed to start. So it's definitely late for us. We're coming up on like, oh God, what, hour 8, hour 9-ish or so?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Luke is very much like, again, putting the pressure on Emma. I'm not gonna say disrespect, because I think Luke has been playing this tournament pretty flawlessly, but like went down to 2 cards, built one down from hand, went into deadlock from it, had the perfect blocked on what the zone was because like I'm gonna draw 2 more cards. I've got a passing the torch, and you know what? These 2 cards don't even matter because I still have my Mirio, or sorry, I still have my Overhaul once per turn to play something from my stage. And yeah, I mean we have triple cooperation offers, so I don't care what you change these zones to because the majority of the time I'm gonna draw the right blocks anyway.
Yeah, it almost feels like we're just kind of in a waiting room now for Luke to draw his infamous, like, double triple repeated smash hand. We've got the foundations to play them all and then some. As soon as we get the grip, we're going to be able to go in really heavily. And even if we have a Mirio enhance, even if we have an area on board, I'm not sure our defenses are going to survive an onslaught like that.
No, I don't disagree. Again, I think Emma feels pressured. I think you can tell. Losing that game 1. When you go to a 30 foundation game like that and you feel like, oh, my opponent's going to deck out before I am, I've got this. I just have to play really good defense. I just have to make all the right moves, and it doesn't pan out. And you're like, okay, now that didn't work. I have to be the aggressor. I have to be
There's
the
also,
one that
like,
attacks.
there's really nothing more daunting than like playing a what was essentially for, like, the first 30-40 minutes of it, right? A deck out game, finishing that, losing, and then after playing for practically a full round's worth of time, going, now I gotta win 2 in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
And which means I gotta play the game for like another hour minimum. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's for sure one of those things to where we've jumped the gun a little, and we've used a cooperation offer before the zone change, which I'm not going to use the word disrespect because I do think Luke right now is playing out of his mind, but says, I'm just going to use this now because I have a high and a low in my hand. Oh, okay. No, we opted for the ones
we're going for the overhaul.
Well,
yeah, makes sense.
Then we need to discard a card from our hand because we did not do that.
I think we announced overhaul, then passing.
Oh, that's way better. See, yeah, again, he's playing out of his mind. So
I feel like he's playing out of mind. He's playing out of body. I feel like Luke is just
also
like
true.
He's just ascended this round.
I think when you win a game like you did last game, you have ascended as a UniVersus player.
He's on another plane now, man. We have a Faith Shield and a Heroic Strike in hand. I want him to review. I want him to review that Faith Shield so bad.
I don't. Are you kidding me? He's not touching that card. He says, "I ripped."
Bro, we got triple cooperation offer in rotation.
Nah, you still keep them.
Get it out of here.
Unlosable game states here, Levi. Unlosable game states.
But Barrett, I'm hungry.
I'm also hungry. I mean, I was really just gonna order some DoorDash while you kind of like rambled about something for a little bit.
That's a pretty good idea.
But I might just save the delivery fee. Like we're at the home stretch, so whatever it is, I might just go somewhere. But yeah,
we got a repeated. We got a repeated. Oh,
Levi.
Oh,
unlosable game states.
Okay, all right.
Luke feels untouchable, and he's going to remain untouchable as long as he keeps playing like this.
I mean, Emma cracked her pull no punches. I'll build 800 foundations now. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be surprised if we hit that 28 count again, but
probably not. I think we'll draw our repeateds before that happens. Hopefully.
Well, we have one, which is more than what happened last game. I mean, I guess we had one last time, but it got played. And no, we didn't. We did not play a single one.
We just checked them all. We just checked them all over the course of the game.
Checked them all, cycled them all.
Yep, it was a pretty sad time. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna. Yeah, I think we're gonna slow down really fast here. Yeah, Emma's deck, 55 cards. 18 of which are attacks.
Pretty much right on the third there. So a very average number of attacks. I think we're just kind of in a scenario where, like, unless we got like 5 attacks, dude, I don't know how we can imagine going into this board. And I think if the mindset, the mentality of game 1 is to be remembered, I think it's going to be a while before we go in, to be honest. We saw Emma kind of approach the game state that the same way in game 1, where like Luke built, to like 15, and then we kind of just went, oh man, I'm not sure what to do here, so I'm just going to build back because I think that's the safe thing to do. And then we kind of just like repeated that thought 7 turns in a row, and then eventually Luke found like the 7-8 attacks that killed us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very honest with you, Levi. I looked at Luke's hand, and aside from the double face shield that was in there, I think the 4 attacks that he has are gonna crack the wall.
Double repeated double heroic strike. Yeah, I think we're
I
fine.
I think along the way, while you do that, you draw a card from your passing the torch. You probably got something banked down from Overhaul here. Like,
Mhm.
and if you didn't before, eventually when Emma attacks you, you're gonna have another one. Like, I think what he currently has is gonna be just good enough. I mean,
Yeah, we
Emma's
got
gonna go for it.
triple note taking as well. So like the
Yeah.
speed is going to be coming in very hot.
I would say the biggest change we have, at least of this current progression, is one, Emma's actually putting in some aggression. Also, Emma's actually ahead on Foundation, so she has the ability to kind of go for it here. And the difference is also we don't have triple carbo loading. We have not been blessed by the new training methods like we did last game for Luke's side. So a lot of these cards that we see are just the ones that we've drawn off the top, right? There's no hand fixing, there's no sneaking in extra foundations to turbo the build up. This is like a real paced draw, and also just relying on what we drew. So I think at this point, obviously Emma's going to have a pretty good offensive turn, and I think there's a world where even if she misses lethal and she just gets resources used, she's actually going to probably be in a really good spot.
Yeah, the profit of this phantom threat is that now we get to go into this potentially very scary, very sculpted next
Well,
Luke turn with both Mirio and Ariel online, right?
respond. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Phantom threat jump scare.
No, so cooperation offer is one of those cards to where like I obviously everybody is playing the card, right? We had the Earth symbol had its resurgence this tournament. We had 3 of them make top cuts. We had the life symbols very strong. I mean, you guys debated if life symbol was the strongest symbol in the game, obviously. And depending on the results of this tournament. But yeah, thank you, Brian. Talking about cooperation offer is kind of the big reason, right? If Mirio is going to be everywhere, then why not just play this card that's really, really good against them? But I want to see the Mirio decks like adapt and change their attack lineups, right? Because of this. So I mean, we have cards out here that do things when their zones are changed, right? So like there's a world where you can play those to kind of beat the cooperation offers, not beat them per se, but like punish your opponent for trying to use a resource while also trying to catch them with the zone check, right? So I want to see things like, right, Schoolyard Smackdown.
Yeah.
Like that's a good one. I mean, it gets the 1/1. And then there's another one that makes your opponent commits foundations, and I wish I knew the name off the top of my head, but
I think that one's just permeation. You're saying an attack that makes them commit when the zone is changed?
yeah, there's something.
I know the one you're talking about. It's like the big 5 diff, like the 5 mid for 5. I know the one you're talking about.
Repel Strike.
Repel. Yeah.
And hey, that one's also got a deadlock on it. I think that card's pretty good, right? And I think
agree. It's just fat.
Yeah, when you want to enter the world where everybody is trying to play cards to survive against Mirio. I mean, like cooperation offer, nobody talked about this card. I want to say nobody talked. It's flip for -3 speed. That card's great. But then when Mirio showed up and everybody's playing it, everyone's like, you have to play this card. You have to play this card. You have to play this card.
Yep. And now like the whole world has kind of figured that out, right? And now the pressure is on the Mirio players to adapt. And we've seen I think that's what has really separated the Mirio players, because there's a lot of Mirio players, but there's definitely a lot of things separating, the good, the bad, and the ugly Mirios of the world. And I think we've seen a lot of the Mirios, I bring up the Caleb Larson build from all the time, because that whole like carpooling to work velocity punch BMI buster like engine he was running, how sick that, and go for the wins too with the capture evildoer spamming. The point of that list was, what does a Mirio do when he gets breaker 2'd, right? What do you do in response to that? And your deck has no backup plan because it's just meant to play 5 attacks on turn 2 every time. That's where all of that technology came in. Now I feel like we're entering an age where like Overhaul / the life symbol in general just being so insanely prevalent, and it's so much defense to fight through. I want to start seeing the Mirios adapt to the cooperation offer decks. I want to see Mirios hard maxing unrivaled combatant, right?
Oh, 100%. I was just about to bring it up.
Yeah, get that second zone change, keep you on your toes. Oh, I think stuff like that is so awesome.
It's not even like the extra zone change, right? It also gets a speed. Like the card is good.
Yeah, it says you cooperation offer me, I'll get my zone that you kicked me off of right back, and I'll get one of the speeds back. How sick.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because like I see more Mirio decks opting to play. You kind of brought this up. I want to say. You see more of the Mirio decks opting to play like All Might 3 decks right now, right?
Yeah.
Just the way that they play, and eventually I'll zone check you, get you low enough in HP or Vitality, and when you get low enough, you feel like you're in this in this prison, right? Like I have to have every perfect zone. Oh, my deck didn't draw them. I'm dead to rights, right? And so, and like as very All Might, right? Is like I'm gonna give everything speed until you run out of resources. Oh, now you're low enough. Okay, now it doesn't. Now I'm allowed to just always give it speed because I don't need damage anymore, right? It's this constant. You have to play a certain way. You have to completely deck change your way. And I agree with you. If we see some adaptations with the Mirios, and I mean this is kind of a perfect way to bring this up while we kind of slow down a little bit on these enhances. This is the last regional license exam that I kind of talked about beforehand. This is the last regional license exam of this format specifically, right? The next big event we have coming up is Rochester in the beginning of September, and we have the provisional promos that are going to be legal for it, right? So we've kind of taken our time. We've done this run of regional license exams during this season 2, and a lot of people have found these big contenders, right? Mirios, Overhauls, Midoriya 4s, Rappas, all these characters that we've seen do well in the UK as well as in the past. And now it's time to adapt again. We're about to have another shakeup. There's going to be some changes. Man, if you thought Overhaul was strong now, Maximum Overhaul is coming, right? So we have to learn. We have to change. We have to adapt our decks as we're exactly talking about. And I think, Mirios can kind of shift towards that full committal that you're talking about. And I think that deck can still compete with these top dogs. And as we can see right now, it already is.
I think that's one of my favorite things about our game, Barrett, is like watching the top meta decks evolve and flow over seasons. One of my favorite decks to watch like in that era was like the life decks during like the early days into the mid days of set 2. Where like the like just that hardcore life defense good stuff shell where like it kind of started on Toga, then people got really tired of getting blown up on turn 2 by the Tokoyamis of the world. And then it kind of shifted into May, but then people realized that problem still persists, even with a little extra health. And then eventually we watched it evolve into Momo, because Momo starts the game with release on her face. And then like just watching like how that deck evolved and like the outside factors and the inside factors of the rest of the meta that forced it to evolve and change over time. I think it's one of my favorite things about this game is just the way there's always just so much room for decks to change and grow, because like certain cards always just become so much better and so much worse as what everyone else is playing gets so much better or so much worse. We kind of saw that with like the Nomu decks too, right? We're watching this tribal hardened off zone deck playing now, because your traditional earth mono mid punches Nomu deck, that deck doesn't do anything to Eraser. And as a Nomu player, we're scared of that matchup. It's one of the hardest in the whole game. And it's just stuff like that I think is so interesting.
No, absolutely, and I agree. That's exactly why our game is so fun. Is exactly why the game, I feel, is so competitive, because anybody can show up, and everything we've just talked about on stream with the deck changes, the people that took those innovations, that adapted, jumped ahead of the curve, and made those deck choices and those changes. Those are the people that are the people to look out for in this game, right? There's so many names that we could sit here and name drop of people that have innovated those decks. I know you just talked about the successful Mirio from the webcam, but it's like you could be the next one, viewers. You could be the next person to be the change, right? You can take a deck like this one that Emma's piloting, the Mirio one, and be like, wow, first, second place, depending on the result of these games of a UK regional license exam. But go to the next tournament and you can take that deck and go even further beyond. Go plus ultra with it and do the change that you want it to be to adapt against. I don't want to lose against Overhaul anymore. Cooperation offer, get out of here. I'm going to put in all these cards that Mirio has at his disposal to play the way that Mirio wants to do. And then guess what? Someone's going to come right around the corner with a different version of another deck to say, stop it. I'm the king of this hill now.
be the change you want to see in the world. Hey, Uncle Sam Barrett Bryant here. UVS Games wants you to counter Mirio.
It's not even about countering Mirio, right? I'm ready. Someone be the change, counter Overhaul, because this deck looks so crisp.
Yeah, as someone who has made 2 RLE finals recap videos featuring Overhaul, I'm about to have to get ready to make a 3rd one after this event ends. This guy's not going anywhere. This
Don't be
dude's
too
crazy
sure about
daisy.
that just yet. We did eat this
Well,
Valiant
the,
Assault.
the
We've
video
gone
the
to 8
video is the
Vitality.
video is about the finals, so he'll
Oh,
be
okay,
in
that's
there
fair.
either way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I just don't know if I'll be crowning him, the winner of it just quite yet, because we're embarking on a very ambitious but very scary string right now.
It is very scary, and I'll be honest. The reason why I think it's even a little scarier is, one, this draws 3 brand new cards, right? So like that's one thing if we wanted to. The second thing is we have momentum. There is a potential capture evildoers restart this turn play coming here, right? Like that can happen. Uh, Luke has put himself in a very vulnerable position to going to 8 vitality with the combination of Mirio enhance, self-sacrifice on the board, Lemillion of the big 3. Every attack is lethal, right? You have to block everything, and whether it's a half block, whether it's a full block, you have to block everything. And yeah, we're holding on to a very good grip of cards in our hand, low blocks, high blocks. Like we've got that coverage, but you're gonna start losing some of these attacks that are in your hand now.
Yeah, again, this is the Luke special, right? Where he just kind of starts face tanking a lot of the damage, does the Giro thing, holds on to a repeated and a poke, draws that new 4 and gets ready for the backswing. Well, Emma's saying I'm not going to allow you to do that, Luke. I'm going to push a little bit harder than you thought. I'm going to actually make you have to decide if you actually are allowed to hang on to some of those attacks or not.
Yeah, that's the last cooperation offer. We've gotten through them all. They've all been used out of the 3 that we've built this game. Actually, if you want to keep it going even further, all that's left defensive wise is release, which is great for passing these blocks. But we no longer have the security of getting back to original zones.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, if we continue any further, we're for sure going to stay low, which is just going to say, hey, give me one of the repeateds in your hand, which, don't get me wrong, that's pretty massive. And I think if we pass into Luke right now, he still gets to hold double repeated and a 3rd attack in his hand. Our goose could be mighty cooked. We got 22 health left. Mirio and Ari are online, so I'm not going to count Emma out just yet. The defenses are for sure there, but there's also a world where we just get to put some serious pressure on, get a lot of resources out the way, maybe not seal the deal as Luke, but get far enough to where the game is very winnable on our next turn.
Yeah, I was looking ahead real quick while you were talking, because the one for all full cowling 5% strike is not main boarded, of course. It's side boarded in this Mirio list, and I actually went to go look to see if we did not discard 3 there, right? So we liked the cards that we had, one of which was this one high block we built. But to my question was, what would have been a sick, Levi, is that if we played a second one.
Oh my God, I'd have lost my mind.
And
dude.
I did go look. There are 2 in the sideboard. So there's a world where another one of those can come out later. But the reason is, those other cards that she's got in her hand matter. So we kept them for a reason. We're gonna have still a pretty healthy stage here, but I don't know if
this
it's
is
healthy.
looking like a 5 attack hand right here, my friend.
And part of the follow up on that was I don't think it's healthy enough to survive double heroic strike and literally any other committal card, right?
Do we have 3 momentum as Emma?
No, I believe it is just the 2.
I think it's also just the 2, which means that we have to decide between Mirio, Ari, and Cheerleader. And as crazy as it sounds, I think you actually have to use the Cheerleader.
Absolutely.
Stopping a repeated is just too massive. We have a very healthy stage, but I do think that we need both repeateds to play all 6 attacks that we have, right? All 5 attacks.
100%. Yeah, it's so Luke has to carefully go through this line, right? Okay, so we've built one down. I guarantee you it was probably an attack, but I think the hard part about this turn is you're right. If we just go into the repeateds when we have to commit our boards, we're going to get cheerleadered out. The worst part about it is that typically when we've played these lines, right, we're overhaul once per turning into the repeated.
Yep.
Which means not only are we going to get cheerleadered on it, but then all these cards are in our card pool. We don't get to ready our stage. we're having to hard send something else after it. So
Now, there's also a world where if we can get enough blocks out of Emma and enough of her stage committed, a double heroic strike play leading into the repeateds could just get the cheerleaders committed. Or in that case, if a heroic comes in that we can see would commit our cheerleader, then we just use it, right? Either way, we get it out the way.
yeah, I mean, actually, some crazy back and forth that just happened right there was we had triple note taking go out onto this setup strike. Which was then followed by double nice try proc and then blocking and just committing a high value target. But like, there's some crazy heads up play coming here because I would never imagine using all 3 note takings on a setup strike.
I think it was just a matter of like, hey, Emma's clearly very interested in blocking this, and she's committing, she's committing defense, a lot of defensive points to it. So let's just start pumping it up and just get just get those resources out of her more and more. Oh no, all of our poor foundations.
Making me jump. Yeah.
Someone get these players a bigger table.
And I do think that is the game plan, just like you said, right?
I think that face down should be committed, right? Or I guess, yeah. Okay, there we go.
The one committed is it can't be fixed. The readied one is the new card that we just gained. Yeah. Nothing changed. Nothing went into our hands. But yeah, I agree with you. The game plan here is, can we commit enough foundations to tap down the cheerleader before we play this repeated? And
I think it just depends if we get the block on this one. Yeah, because if we get the block on this one, the second one comes in for a commit 3, and that's definitely going to reach it.
Why would you block this, Levi?
We're at 20,
we're at 22. Sure. I mean, this is the one you eat for sure.
Yeah, I think the setup strike was also for sure one to eat. It just depends if we can kind of like, there's a world where we're just kind of feeling like we have a safety net of, sure, I'll block everything, and then you can't send like a bomb at me because I have Mirio and Airy and cheerleader waiting. So in that case, even if I have to commit my cheerleader, who cares, right? But yeah, we're just going to take this on the chin, which makes total sense.
Yeah, I think it's about a trade of resources. I think Emma wants Luke to do more, right? Like, I need you to do more. So if I block this thing, if I commit enough resources, it's like a resource baiting, if you will, right? Like yeah, I'm going to block. I'm going to tap some things to do this, but I need you to use resources so that I can finish the last bit of your vitality when I draw my next hand, right? But this is the one we're opting to flash, and I think that could be really bad for Emma.
That might be the decision that kills Emma this turn.
Yeah, still getting the block on it, though. We do check well for it. So like, valuing our ready foundations is important. I'm not saying it's not, but the fact is oh my gosh, I didn't even know there was another one.
I definitely thought, do we have just one repeated then after this? No, I think we have all of that. I think this was our draw from the passing the torch, was this third heroic strike, and our second repeated is sitting in our stage now. We banked it with Overhaul.
Yeah, and then this is going to be the commit last 4. I mean, this would have been the plan for Luke all along. He would have gotten the cheerleader eventually. But yeah, I mean, we got a block off on the one before it, so we're still sitting at a pretty hefty 15. There's a situation here where, so repeated from the stage, repeated from the hand. Levi, I don't actually think that's lethal, though. The fact that we have Mirio and we have Airy, there's no momentum on the side of Luke. Like,
we only have one momentum, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because we spent one on cheerleader. I'm pretty sure we only have one. It's like just off the camera, right? So, but I don't think there's another one hiding. I think it's just one, and there just being one in there, I think means that we're actually able to send things potentially home. This brings us to 8.
Yeah, which is going to mean the repeated is enough. So the repeated, the first repeated,
each
exactly. Yeah, so you're 100% correct. We're going to be able to ready all these stages. This is looking like
we also have a carbo loading and a floating to extend a little further even. We're able to play around with this like just enough essentially to where I think this repeated into repeated string is just going to be actually insane. This was on a 5. We checked a 3, committing 2. Now we're going to ready 5 resources.
Yeah,
more than enough. Yeah, more than enough to play our Emma.
Yeah,
poor sweet
Emma. It's one of those things where like I think that was the play all along. Luke said, I have to get through Airy, I have to get through Mirio, I have to get through the cheerleader. And I think Luke's idea was these heroic strikes are going to be exactly the perfect bait to get Emma to use the cheerleader, which means we don't get to use Airy and Mirio. It's 100% correct. You don't get to use them all.
Yep. Yep. And that's kind of the bait of like, wow, this third heroic strike is, I'm sorry, the second heroic strike is going to come in and commit 3 of my cards. Oh, I just have to cheerleader that, right? What could be worse than committing 3 of my cards? What about my rival readying 5
I was right.
cards?
I was right. She had 2 more momentum.
Okay. Hang on.
Mirio with this.
We've been retextured. We've been bamboozled.
I'm getting dialed back. Levi,
Yep.
you baited me.
Hey, oi.
There has to be another one. This one will not get Emma to 1, which means Aerie is playable. There has to be something after the second repeated, which there easily could be. I just don't know what's in his hand.
We have a repeated and a carbo loading in our hand. I'm sorry, we have a carbo loading and then yes, our other repeated. So we definitely don't have a third attack from this repeated onwards, right? It's this one and then the next one. We're able to carbo loading and bring this back up a little bit.
We have a block? No way. I was like, okay, but we're reviewing. Extra reviews at this point. I think Emma knows she's alive because we're right at 2.
Wow. This is actually insane. Yeah. The carbo loading ready is unfortunately not gonna help us on this one.
No,
Aerie, oh my god! If Aerie saves the day to bring us to a game 3, this is going to be phenomenal.
Truly keeping Aerie safe over here. Aerie's built over on Emma's side of the board. We're at the point in the fight where Mirio hasn't been shot yet. We're still permeation. We are protecting this child with everything we have, and she is about to bite the bullet, literally, on this next repeated smash, if it's even played. Luke over here contemplating, do I even play it? Do I try and survive at 11 vitality with all these foundations ready? They don't have any text, Levi, but they can still pass checks.
I think you have to just hold the repeated. It's your low block, but and you have to just pray that Emma just does not draw a very respectable string in the slightest.
It's so scary because that carbo loading in our hand is also not going to be good enough. That is a not the block zones we are looking for.
I mean, it's a mid, so it's not like unusable, right? It's just not attractive. However, between a low from the stage, the repeated in our hand, and the carbo load in our hand, we could get 3 blocks off next turn, 2 of them being full block lows if we continue to go low all day, every day, and 1 of them being a mid block, half block at the absolute worst. So I think there's a chance that Luke can continue to protect his 11 health.
Yeah, I think the question here is, I'll say this in the sense of, do we get rid of the Aerie now, or is it just something? Yep. Okay. So he's deciding, we're just going to hold the low block. I do value the low block. I do think it's very important. I'm not disagreeing with the choices there. I just think this Aerie now gets to sit here for another turn. Like, now Luke has to find all of that he did again.
Potentially, we still have the same amount of defense to get through. The only difference now is Emma has a lot less life total to actually play around with when it comes to taking moves. But man, I would be blown away if we don't find some kind of respectable crackback here. Yeah, we got all the resources in the world, but if we can just zone check the life out of Luke, he's not going to see another attack turn. This is so suspenseful, Barrett.
Is this the turn? Is this the turn, Levi?
I don't know. I can't see him as hand up.
I guess I meant is like, do we call high? Do we everything that Luke has been going for in this game? Do we call high? This is a pretty good one. Whether she drew good cards or not, this is going to help her find more, or just be a good lead that says you have to block this, or you don't get used overhaul at all.
Yeah, this is wild. If Emma just goes high this turn from here on out, she's actually just built different. She's actually just elevated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I would feel empowered. I mean, you got to think Luke, this incredible high, right? I mean, we don't. The game's not over. I'm not counting my chickens yet, but Emma survived a turn that I was on a roller coaster of emotions. I thought Luke had it. I thought Luke didn't have it. Then I thought he did have it, and then I was corrected. She has 2 momentum. She's gonna be able to live right here, and like this is a second wind, if you will, in Dungeons and Dragons, or if you're playing Baldur's Gate right now, like this is the second wind energy here. Luke coming from the highest peaks of winning with 3 cards left in his deck after a double cycle last game, to Emma surviving at 2 vitality because Aerie keeping her alive, to then hopefully, and we'll find out very quickly in this turn.
I don't know about very quickly. We will eventually find out. This is true. This turn will end at some point, one way or the other, Barrett.
Yeah, you're right.
Cold hard facts.
There's a
throwing down
lot
the
of
logic on you
contemplation
right
here.
now.
Levi, I wonder if
I
I
think
think this
I
might be
think
the only orange card in our hand.
that would be insane. I think so. I think what we might be doing is just kind of going through and maybe trying to see what block zones are remaining inside of Luke's deck. This is the block zone check right here. Emma's making the decision right here, right now, if she goes high or
Yeah.
even mid. Although we sure are holding. I'm 90% certain it's a carbo loading as the other card in our hand. So going mid would be a little unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't think there's a world where you go mid here. The fact that we're playing things even like uh, just like there's other crazy good mid blocks, right? Like not just those things, but the foundations that aren't worth building necessarily at this point in the game state would be things like those mid blocks. I also think that could be said about the high blocks. Maybe there's that world where you still call low because if my opponent thought he could kill me but still has the repeated and you just want to get it out of their hand.
We are self-sacking ready foundations. Oh, it's Giga Chad. It's a Giga Chad turn now. It looks like we did go low. I think the real tough thing, Barrett, about like deciding what block zone you're going to go with on that move is normally, right, if you're going to try and play the not necessarily mind games, but if you're going to try to work around what the rival expects you to do, what you think they think you're going to do, right, you can always try to play around what they're planning. But the thing about that last turn is it was very obvious that Luke was dead set on ending the game last turn, meaning he probably wasn't thinking about holding certain blocks or sculpting certain blocks. So Emma wasn't really left with any data to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's also where that read where like, hey, what's the worst case scenario? I keep this low. That way, if he did have that repeated, which she was right, he did. That was what he thought he could win the game on.
Yep.
Let's call low. Hey, guess what? This Texas Smash is also probably going to be low.
Mm-hmm. So I think what you have to do is if it is a carbo loaded in hand, I think you have to mid block this one because it guarantees the full block on the next one from the stage.
I agree. You're not allowed to do the typical, overhaul, build it down. Hey, once per turn, I can play something from my hand. That's just one less block you get this turn. And
yeah,
I don't
you're asking to just lose to a third attack in hand, right?
Yeah, and you're not allowed to do that because you got to think if there was if these were the only two attacks this turn, Levi,
Holy
you would have
cow.
went Texas Smash into the other guy, discard your hand, draw 3.
Correct.
And so that's not the line. The fact that we led with the 5% scowling means that we've got some gas.
Yep. So we're gonna block with the carbo loading there. Check right in the middle of a 3 and a 5. Bink the 4 off the top. Just life symbol things. Now between 6 ready foundations and our character, the block's not going to be on progressive. We for sure get to full block the next one from stage. If there is a fourth move, we're going to a game 3, Barrett.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100% is on the 4th move. I'm wondering if we're looking for a Valiant Assault here. A Haymaker, I think, will be just as good. We do also have an EX. I don't think the 3 check here really matters. What really matters is if we needed to draw the 4th one and we've now checked it. That would be the more important fact.
Yeah, we didn't draw cards in the middle of this turn that I've missed, did we?
No, we did not use the ability
Because like we certainly should have just gone back alley Texas 5%, discard our hand, try and rip more, right?
Absolutely. So that just tells me you have more, right? Like it absolutely is screaming that.
Yeah, it possibly says that we just raw drew so many attacks that we were fine with opening the 5% because it means that we get to kind of like put a little bit of pressure on Luke to either use his once per turn right there or take the hit and then get his character committed and not have it at all. And given that like that's the line that we went on rather than like going for the actual 5% at the end, find a new hand. Yeah, I think that that decision making right there just up and says we have the 4th move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us as spectators, everyone else at home watching, that's for sure what it says. I can't imagine there was any other line other way. Emma has shown very good skill in playing this deck. As I kind of mentioned before, most of her matches have resulted in a 2-0 victory, at least throughout this tournament. Aside from the last match where she played against Greg and had lost a game, to now Luke taking game 1 in this set, she has shown her skill with the character and Mirio and making good choices. So yeah, this just tells me that she's gonna just play it all.
Yeah, I'd be wildly surprised if there isn't a follow up after this, or we certainly would have gone for some crazy hand discarding plays right there. Holy cow, we could be, as we head into the 9th hour live today, we could very well be seeing a game 3.
Yeah, for sure. I'm standing at this point. I know you can probably see it, Levi, but yeah, I mean, I'm at this high octane energy. We've been up for so many hours, doing this late night thing, coming in, watching some incredibly good UniVersus. I want a game 3, and guess what, Levi? I'm going to stand for all of game 3 as well because I think I'm just ready to see more good UniVersus. And Luke, one of the most collected players I think I've seen play this game. He's been on camera quite a few times now, and it's just it looks so flawless, so professional. And then you see Emma over here also running incredibly well with Mirio, making great choices. We are having to tap a lot for this guy. We did also EX it. So yeah, just kind of using every resource.
Did EX this? Show me the 4th one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it's not in the hand.
It's got to be. We haven't. What? Oh,
what? Are we passing or are we scooping?
Are we passing turn? Or are we picking the cards up? I don't. Oh my god, there's no way we're passing turn.
Interesting.
No way. No way.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think we just ended our turn.
Okay.
Wow.
What are the other 3 cards in our hand?
So I think what we might have just kind of got a little caught up on, Barrett, is we just like saw the 5% and we were like, oh, we can send this out and get the character committed and like force the block or force the block and it'll be sick. But then unfortunately we had that mid block in the hand. The only way that line actually worked is if Luke was sitting with a high block in hand and wasn't able to even partial one of the things, right? Because if we have to eat any attack that turn, we get nuked from orbit. It's just over.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's a great line, and like I mean, as we saw even on that last haymaker, right? Like a ton of damage was loaded up onto that thing. Like we had it. Like it was for sure there. Yeah, a flip 10 here from the cycle. These cards kind of do matter. The more attacks we see, the less likely he's going to draw more cards. Emma 100% still has a chance in this game. This game is not over. I mean, she's about to ready up. The Aerie is going to ready a foundation on the pass turn, unless we missed it. I'm not sure if we did, but if not, we have 2 nice tries. Like we have a pretty solid defense, triple high value targets, very good. And
no way, 6 foundations.
I mean, we still, yeah. I mean,
we got 1 repeated.
How do we have 2? How'd that happen? Oh no, that was last card in deck. That was the last. He had to put the 1 down and then had to cycle. That last card in deck was the repeated, but he says it's not good enough. He said,
"Oh no."
He said it's not good enough. My whole stage is face down, Levi. I don't have
Barrett, no. No.
You can't whiff again, right? Like you can't whiff again.
Holy cow! There's no way. There's no way.
It's still a zone check, right? Like I mean, the whole game is a zone check.
Yeah, this is insane. This is insane. We are in full zone check territory right now. But like at this point, right, Luke's holding so many cards that the zone check game just got exponentially harder. Like last turn was our window to zone check. And man, if we'd just full sent high, if we'd have gone like, okay, wait, there's clearly another move in the hand, but what could it be, right? It's either a repeated smash or a monstrous and it's a low block, or it's a high block. It's our back alley. It's our future charge, right? The hard part about making that decision there on which way to go is that Luke's zones are completely covered in his attacks. So even if we are like very certain he's holding on to a move there, there's just no real way to actually predict other than going, well, you know what? They always expect me to go low because that's what every Mirio in the world for the most part does, that they probably held a low. And you could have maybe just tried to take advantage of that assumption and knowledge and going, well, now I'll go high and hey, look, if it works, it works, but definitely a hell of a time to try and take that risk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, we're opting here. So that looked to be our review before we made any choices here. So we're going to draw up into the new cards. And yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be that constant decision, regardless of how many turns this might take of, Luke trying to find enough attacks to go for it versus Emma, making the right calls. The fact that it was just build a couple foundations there is like, yeah, it's kind of anybody's game in the sense of you have to start calling with the right zones, and how much time is it going to take you? Because if we even just see Emma for the next couple of turns only draw 2 attacks a turn, or only 1 attack a turn, and you're only calling a certain amount of zones, not getting any progression, it just gives Luke extra reviews. Luke will eventually find the attacks, and his offense is going to fight better into Emma's defense than Emma if it's not as strong and powerful, or vice versa. Luke might only find the 1 attack or the 2 attacks, and not getting there, having to keep blocking with these repeated smashes that he's drawing because he keeps calling low. So it's going to be this constant of like, eventually we just need to find enough of them, right? We may be at low vitalities, low life totals, but when the stages get this big, when we hold this many cards in our hand, it's just, you have to find quantity.
Yeah, we're kind of reaching that same awkward spot we did in game 1, right? Where like neither player is really certain if it makes sense to go in yet because we're afraid of dying on the backswing. And Barrett, the last time these players fell into that mindset, we had a 30 foundation board.
Yeah, I like this one though. This one gets fast. We also checked the specialist of sound, so we know we're checking well after this. So good incentive to keep going if there is some follow-up attacks here. But yeah, I like this one a lot because of how fast it gets. And as we kind of pointed out, in the sense when Luke even contemplated maybe playing that repeated in his hand, his whole stage is face down now. There is no help on board.
Hey, that's okay. I don't think +2 damage matters anymore.
+2 damage doesn't, but the fact on this one, it gives it speed matters, right?
This is true. We are very out of speed reduction, as they say. We just have to hard block with our mountain of foundations down there, which is certainly not impossible. But again, if Emma finds a very, very respectable string, we're going to be able to fight through all of that defense for sure. And we say that the block zone lottery is only in effect so hard with the amount of cards that both players are able to hold at this point. But at the same time, if we hit the Valiant, if we hit the rip of cards, right, there's just not a world where, if anyone can really, really break down that variance of, hey, did you get the right zones? Are you holding the right zones? Do I get to check it here? It is Mirio. Literally, it's the character's entire mechanic. It's everything that he's revolving around, and it's what makes him oh so strong.
Yep, here we are again using self-sacrifice on our readied foundations. I mean, we just checked too good, right? So, but the reason it matters is obviously the damage doesn't matter, but the speed does. So, I mean, like you said, no face-up resources on Luke's board. This thing is going to commit as many foundations as Emma can pump speed into it, basically. It all comes down to basically what zone did we make this card, right? Because block mods, what we have left in our hand, all of that's going to be a factor. Maybe there is a point. Maybe I've never found a good turn, Levi, where you call mid, but this might be the one where you call mid.
It could be. I mean, it certainly could be. I mean, at this point that we know that it's not like last turn, right? We know that we're in a turn now where Luke has actually been able to sculpt his blocks and hold what he wants to hold. And so this might be the time to try and abuse that data and shift away from the all lows train.
Yeah, I mean, even the few foundations that were built, right? We built, which is kind of crazy to me, right? Like we built the self-sacrifice and we built the tight-lipped. Those are both +1 block mods. But I wonder the only reason why tight-lipped was built was because it was a mid. We don't think we're going to be mid. And I do think Luke is a smart player. I bet you there's at least one mid block in our hand, right?
Well, we have a nice little evade and copy there for sure. Then we have a Ryukyu. And we have a repeated. So we for sure have the Omni block, right? Evade and copy. And then we have 2 lows. And then our 4th card, can't quite make out what that one is.
It's kind of an Omni block, right? It only works on ones that are printed mid. So I think if you're going to use it, it's right here, right? I mean, this is the fastest. I didn't even know we had one. I'm glad you saw it because,
this is the time. I'm not trying to block this. I'm not trying to block this 8 mid any other way, Barrett. Not me, man. Absolutely not. God, though, how tragic, man. We were 1 shy of getting that play disability 5 times flash off, man.
The biggest thing, honestly, on that effect, if we were to trigger it, is that it gets a damage, or sorry, it draws you a card. That's the biggest one. Is that it draws you a card. It's already gonna leave. It got this. It gains flash. No more shenanigans. Oh, and hey, by the way, draw me 1 more card.
Barrett, have you seen that response pop yet.
You obviously did not pay attention to Tam and I casting.
Oh, absolutely not.
Because he asked me the exact same question. And so
Wow.
for the viewers who have been listening for the past couple of hours with me, yes, Levi, I personally have triggered it.
Wow. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that.
I
love that.
triggered it in Tokoyami under the chaos symbol.
Makes sense. You were talking a little bit about that earlier. That's definitely a deck to trigger it in. No, that's
Basic
awesome.
trainings, floating stats, and Tokoyami's +1 gets you there pretty consistently.
Yeah, no, it made it. Look, your math checks out, my friend. I can't argue with you.
So
if there's one thing I can't argue, it's about Tokoyami with Barrett Bryant. not a winning argument for old Levi.
We always enter. If you're always wondering, for the people at home, if you're a big Tokoyami fan and any symbol, every time a new set comes out, I do throw him back in the lab. I scrap all of my decks and I rebuild them all from the ground up. Because you never know when the Chaos Ally package is going to be good this set, or you never know if the Chaos Range package or the Charge package is going to be good. You never know if the Fire symbol is going to be really good. I know JJ, as we've mentioned, Jacob Johnson, been playing the Fire version, and as I kind of said earlier in the stream, like. It's very casino-y to me, and I don't disagree. And there's multiple ways to play that deck, but it's very fun, very good. I think the evil symbol is very good right now. Evil Tokoyami has a lot of good things going for it. Just not my personal favorite play style, but if you are a fan, you can always shoot me a message. We can deck tech every now and then. But yeah, that Phantom Threat seemed to have been the only thing, and that was kind of exactly what I was alluding to. Is if we don't find enough pieces to hand check Luke, it gives Luke more time to find his own pieces. And I think Luke has gotten to a point where he has some pretty good ones now.
Yeah, I don't know about you, man, but that looks like a grip to me. However, we have a mountain of speed reduction on board, as well as momentum to pay for both Mirio and Airy, right?
Absolutely.
So, I think Emma could survive this turn. It's not like insanely locked in the cards yet, but she's gonna have to play her cards perfectly.
I will say, Levi, we're in a different game state than last time. I do believe the Mirio reset to 0 is pretty unplayable at this point. 2
You're
damage.
Right. You're so right, yeah. My friend. You got me there.
Yeah, so 2 is great, but unless it's followed up by like double self-sacrifice after our opponent has already used their self-sacrifice and carbo loading and the tight lift even, right, I don't think we get to do that because of the way that Overhaul works.
Right.
So the 2 momentum's great. I don't think it'll work out. So it's Airy in our hand essentially. So
Yep. I think this is going to be potentially the kill turn. I think it's going to be a lengthy one at that. Barrett, I hate to do this to you. I got to go to the bathroom, bud.
Hey, that's okay, man. I got this. I don't have chat pulled up, so I'm not going to talk to them, but I'm instead just going to rattle off a bunch of stuff. I could talk about the board state, but yeah, I think it's going to take a little while. Maybe I'll just talk to Brian. You guys can't hear Brian, but lovely guy. I'm doing a great job today with the stream yesterday as well. He's very tired boy though, so we need to hurry up and get this over with. Just kidding. So yeah, this could be the kill turn. I'm trying to get a peek, see at what Luke has in his hand. I'm for sure saw, I think, a heroic strike. It's that or a future charge. They all look the same to me. We still have the repeated that we know. And the fact that we've led with this back alley haymaker, obviously opted for the draw. We do know that there is more than one. There's more than 3 attacks coming this turn, and so just like how Mirio is essentially trying to zone check on one end, Luke is going to attempt to essentially do that as well. This is the second cycle now coming from Emma, and that is pretty relevant because we are running out of cards now, and we're going to have to start making sure we not only have enough to draw for turn, but also to then play enough attacks to potentially get the win here. Nobody wants to lose on a deck out, that is for sure. Earlier in the turn, Luke was checking his remove from game pile and his discard pile to check for this future charge. I think he wants to know and understand exactly what are the odds that I draw another attack.
Are we dead yet?
I didn't see it. I don't know what the card we drew. It's heroic, or he already had it. Welcome back, Levi. I think this is it, and I think this is it in multiple ways. I think we have 2 more attacks to play on Luke's end, and we've now cycled twice as Emma. So even if we perfect blocked everything, we used the airy response, I don't know if there's enough cards left in our deck to draw our hand for turn and then play enough attacks to zone check Luke.
I think you might be right, my friend. I think we're simply going to be running out here like quantity wise.
Love that play. That was a very good play. I mean, the fact that we checked a Specialist of Sound off the top on the block, the card we blocked with was a destined for mainstream success. When we revealed the top card, it was a Valiant Assault. We for sure want that in our hand, and so that we don't check it.
Yeah, we have to grab that bad boy.
We do for the sake of the 3-check, and it's also a high block. And here comes a setup strike.
Yeah, no, we have to. We're in a game state where like it's just not feasible. We have 3 checks on top of the deck. We got to get them off. We are slowly running out and out of foundation committal power here, and we have to make sure that we can bolster our defenses nonstop. But we're even getting another destined pop off. Boom, there it is. Grab the Valiant Assault. Fantastic. The setup strike is going to be a little easy to deal with, right? We don't have a momentum to trade for any bonus speed, but that 3 to the next. I mean, we've essentially got 5 foundations on our board right now. That count as 2. We got 10 points of committal power.
Yeah, so my biggest thing here is if all zones are correct in hand for Emma.
Mm-hmm.
If we know that Luke has a heroic strike and a 100%. If there is another attack somewhere in the stage, which I'll be honest, Levi, this game has gone on so long, and tracked which face downs are which, how many times we've put a card down, and if that was the card we used for our once per turn. I don't know if there is.
Now, this is huge right here. This is so massive. This is an insane heroic strike right now. We're going to commit 4 cards, right? And at least one of them, right, unless we want to lose our self-sack, maybe even 2 of them, are going to be foundations that are essentially worth 2 speed in total. So this is going to be effectively like a stun 5.
Absolutely. I mean, we're for sure we're for sure committing the 2 face downs, and I'll be honest, Levi, it's probably just the nice try and the self sack. They're not going to get us anywhere. The high value targets get you there in the same sense. So that's exactly where this math to me is going to play out, right? It's essentially, if that repeated 100% in our hand is our last thing, we're still alive as Emma. We still have an Airy. And the zeroing out doesn't matter, right? Like Luke has to keep all of his damage pump stuff still up because of Mirio ability still working. We've opted from the once per turn though, so that tells me that we have another one, and I think that's going to call it basically.
I agree.
You play whatever it is. The fact that he's using it now is like, I bet you there's another 100% in his stage.
There's got to be, right? Or have we played them all?
I mean, there's one on top of the discard pile.
There's one on top of the discard pile.
Did we find them all again after we cycled our deck? Like, that would be crazy.
Right. We just need something fast enough, right? Because like, this is already fast enough that it's gonna force out Airy. Then we just need to produce a fast enough one as well. Past that, we have triple high value up, but that's that. I don't think that's gonna be enough to block out. I mean, 7, 8, 9, 10. I guess if we like block
crazy 1 high, but we know we have a Valiant Assault. Like, we have a high block for this guy. Which is good, but the question is...
I mean, if we block on an 11 and check a 5, we commit all 3 high value targets? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11?
Yeah, that is true.
On an 11? Oh my goodness. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Holy cow. All right.
We still have Mirio. Again, Mirio Enhance, I think, is pretty moot at this point in the game.
Yes, because Overhaul beats Mirio Enhance, but does not beat Airy Response.
Yes, exactly.
You got to show me 2 more, and that's a wrap.
This is telling me, this is telling me the fact that we have the Overhaul once per turn coming in here is that we need to play a face down. He's looking. We're not snap playing one here.
Yeah.
Is there not another attack on our stage? And like, that was my concern, Levi, is that I don't think we have another attack on our stage because I think we've gone so long in this game that we've used them all. We've literally, every attack we've put down there, we have played.
Yeah. Can you imagine if we had a future charge chilling down there? That'd be insane.
That'd be enough. Oh wait, hold on. I just saw.
Oh no, I do see our repeated
right there.
I think so. So the issue is just repeated doesn't win the game because Airy is still sitting there.
Is that the only? Is that the same repeated that he put down from? Was that the one that was already in his hand?
It must be because it's not in our hand anymore.
It's not. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So
we built it
so
down. We
regardless,
built
I
it
was
down
right.
with the intention of playing it, right? We
Yeah,
built it down earlier in the turn, committed it. Now we intend to play it, but the issue is it's our last attack and it still is not lethal,
and we
meaning we're just gonna
opted
go
to
for a
abort.
build. Yep.
I mean,
Wow,
that
this is
card is
insane.
going to be the one that can keep us alive more so than just playing the
Yeah,
repeated.
you can't take any momentum. You need your
So
attacks to stay back in the deck.
so I had said this while you were gone, and I will repeat it now as Luke passes back over to Emma. We've cycled twice now as Emma. I don't know if there's enough cards anymore in Emma's deck to draw for turn and still play enough to get through a defense.
Yeah, I mean, we've left ourselves really vulnerable yet again after failing our kill turn, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like there's enough gas left in Emma's deck to be vulnerable enough to an actual kill turn. If this just ends up coming a deck out again, this will be insane.
Nobody wants to lose that way for sure. I don't think Luke wants to win that way. The fact that Luke came back from the clutches of his deck almost running out to then still scrape out that win, I want to see Emma pull that off herself, right? Like this is the point where she's on the clock. She has played incredible defense, even when her deck has not cooperated and given the attacks with just one more every single time. Like this is the one where like she has to do that same kind of pressure. She has to do the same kind of play that Luke did because Luke has plenty of cards still left in his deck, as well as the attacks in his bank or the ones that he's going to draw. Emma has to put in the same kind of play style and effort that Luke did in game 1 if there's going to be a game 3.
I swear to God, Barrett, if we just start build one passing.
She's not allowed to do that. I mean, she is running out of cards. Her deck is smaller. She's ahead on the deck out game. She can't play that way for too long. That is.
There's an argument to be said that maybe we should have just jammed the repeated anyway, just to get the area out.
That was kind of the same note that I had noted. What was it? Whatever that was, 2 turns ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that
the turn before it didn't make sense because we needed that low block in the hand. We desperately needed to hang on to that card. But I think on this last turn, yeah, we jammed the repeated from stage instead of the lost in thought. I think that would have been fine. Just get the area out the way. We have to get through it.
Because once again, like we have it still on the board. Like Luke has to find another combination, right, of those attacks. But what I was trying to get at is maybe he doesn't because maybe Emma doesn't have enough cards in her deck anymore. Now Luke just has to do the play one pass, let Emma find as many attacks as she can, block them perfectly, and it's not enough, right? You don't have enough cards to play. But we've led with a back alley here. I think all the counting that we were doing for Emma is what are the chances I draw another attack, right? Because as we stated a little bit before, 2 turns ago when we played the Phantom of Threat, it's quantity, right? Almost all of these can be lethal on half because of what's going on in the deck, but it is about quantity. The quality is not necessarily as important.
Yeah, at this point, it's kind of just a matter of slinging them. Like these guys just have too much defense built up. The game coming down to like points of foundation committal is probably just not gonna. I feel like I've said that sentence so many times throughout this round, but that's just the world that we keep kind of falling back into. I mean, and to be fair, we did see the previous game. It did end due to actual damage, right? It did eventually come down to I don't have any more blocks left, right? We did eventually reach that in our 7-8 attack turn.
Yeah. Our tableside judge had told us that after that last cycle from Luke, there were 3 cards left in deck, right? Like he was only allowed to play 2 more things in that game. And he found the lethal line that would have resulted in that, and he did pull it off. And that's kind of where I'm saying is like Emma, it's now Emma's turn. Emma has to do the same thing. She has an incredible amount of stats. The only true defensive piece that Luke has going for him is a lost in thought, and you have to pull that off at the right moment, right? You can't just get rid of a Lemillion of the big 3 because if this is just a bait to try and get ready and go into another turn, you've now lost your best defensive piece. But I mean, as we just pull the trigger, he might just be doing that right now.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it looks like. We're uninterested in hanging out with this Lemillion of the big 3 kind of sitting on board. The damage is quite relevant right now, right? Lemillion lets 5 damage moves hit 9 without having to self-sack, which is a crucial number. 9 damage moves are lethal on the partial right now. So kind of removing that as a resource and saying, hey, if you want to hit those 9 damage thresholds, you have to double self-sack on everything, which means potentially destroying more ready foundations on this one, which, to be fair, we've shown as Emma that we're down to do that.
Hey, it might actually be what happens right now, to be honest.
I think that is exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah, there it is. We're gonna pop
get
that
it.
Destin that we used last turn, get some extra damage here with a self sack. This is gonna help us, get to that half block range. It might start forcing out a self sack return use from Luke, which could be pretty big still. Regardless, if this is the only attack for the turn, it's not really that big of a deal. Which seems to be the case. Yep, there's the double self sack. That's that magic 9. The question is, do we just have the full block, or is Luke going to respond with his own self-sacrifice?
Yeah, we do always have our own self-sack to make sure that the 5 damage moves don't stay at 9 if we do end up having to partial something. So, like, actually getting 1 partial this turn is really, really relevant. Oh, there's our heroic strike. There's our last
6, 7. So we're having to tap 4 foundations here, right?
By the looks of it,
I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot of foundations to tap here.
It is, yeah. If we could find a respectable string, this could actually be the end of game 2. But it doesn't look like
I
there's
saw
a whole lot
a
else going on.
Texas.
We have a Texas.
Yeah, but it's still not gonna do it, right? Like, that one's good enough to get lethal on half as well, right? But the problem is that we still have an overhaul once per turn.
Yeah, and I mean, if we have a third attack past that, right, we're able to +4 to the next. That for sure makes another lethal on half. But it looks like the Texas is the only thing we have, so we're just gonna opt to rebuild our Lemillion and maybe call it a day from there.
Tragic. I wonder, that Valiant would have been 1 card away from drawing with the back alley enhance, right? The pass in the torch is going to be pretty good though, about helping us find these attacks in a quicker period of time. But I mean, again, depending on how thin that deck is for Emma, it's going to be a little rough. We've reviewed. No, we didn't review. Oh, I see another attack. I just don't know what it is.
I see a repeated and a heroic strike.
And
an instant shining flash. Yeah.
I think that's enough.
It could be. Do we still only have the 1 momentum, right?
No, we have 2,
No?
and which is
no.
Yeah, it's the 2 momentum, which is fine, right? Because we're not using Mirio again. Yeah, it's just the play 1 pass. I think it's maybe Luke knows better than we do. I would for sure just play 1 pass if my opponent doesn't have enough cards in deck.
Right. Yeah. No. I think it's pretty safe. I think it's pretty safe to say that the most sensible. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say the most sensible thing for Luke to do is just build 1 pass here, not die, and play that deck out game. He knows he's ahead here.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe hopefully getting a confirmation here pretty soon. But we're gonna find out real quick. Depending on how many cards are left in the deck after drawing for turn, essentially determines how many cards we get to play. Because this is the 3rd cycle. There's no going back after the 3rd cycle typically.
There's no going back after the 3rd cycle.
There really isn't.
2023.
Yeah, I mean, your deck's got to be like 80-something cards to kind of go past that. I mean, the cards resulting there didn't really matter. I don't know what that number is, but it's about 3, I want to say.
So. Yeah, I don't think we have we don't have the ability to actually play a turn anymore. I think we're going to see this regional license exam be decided by deck out, Barrett.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
Insane. I never thought I would see this.
I didn't think I was going to see it in MHA format. I'm not going to lie to you, man.
Especially like Mirio of all characters, right?
It's hard, right? I mean, it's hard. I mean, Overhaul is a tough matchup. If there's anybody that can sit here and I think Luke is playing out of his mind. So, like, he's doing a fantastic job. I don't see how there's another answer and another way that you approach that. But the way that both of these players have structured their decks, we've entered this kind of stalemate situation, right? Of like, not enough deadlock abilities to kind of get past the wall. Not finding the right pieces.
Barrett, it's time to go. It's time to go out like a hero. It's time to discard our hand and draw 3. It's time to go out. It's time to go out on our own terms, Barrett.
Is that your Mirio getting shot with the bullet thing in the sense of like I'm going to use this last little bit of my quirk ability and now I don't have it kind of thing? Or spoilers if you haven't seen, I guess season 3 or something.
You cope however you need to, Barrett. Whatever phrasing or verbiage we need to justify to bring this to a close.
Yeah, I mean, here's the difference. If there were 4 cards left in Emma's deck and we get to play 3 things, I think it's possible. Did we draw 3 attacks? I don't know. If we did, I think you can maybe get there if you call the right zone 3 times in a row, right?
Possibly. Yeah, depending on what the spread. I mean, Luke has 6 in hand with a 7th block from the stage. Self-sack to make sure that they can't even stay at 9 damage. I mean, the Lemillion's back, so certain ones can. I don't know.
This one can, right?
This one can. Yeah, this one can definitely stay lethal at half, but this one is for sure not gonna
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, -1, 10, or I guess 9, whatever, because of this. Yeah. So I mean, this one can, but I mean, if you're Luke here, like the perk is like the attacks that you hold on to are the ones that you hold on to are like good ones, and they have a very diverse block zone coverage, right? So like your haymakers, your future charges, and like those are your high block coverage, and then you have things like heroic that are going to give you the mids, and those setup strikes are randomly in mid block. You have monstrous fusion and repeated for the low. Like there's enough block diversity in the deck that you can just get there, right?
It's yeah. I mean, we're playing the life symbol, right? The life symbol is like literally iconic for exactly this, right? Having this beautiful spread, having these beautiful zones all across. Our Midoriya starter deck cards are just going to be played until the end of time because they're so good at covering those zones and covering them really well. We have cards like New Training Method to pick up new ones. We have Wall Clings and Faith Shields galore. We're playing a character that replays those and stuffs Faith Shields down for later. It's almost very, very ironic, right? How like by accidental, so many accidental instances of design, we're in a world where like Overhaul feels so perfectly poised to fight against Mirio. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that right there is going to say enough, right? We kept it a high, gave it enough damage, everything. The fact that we still have an Overhaul ability here, even if we keep this one as a high, I think that's going to be enough. I believe with confirmation, Emma has 1 card left in deck. This is the last form. This is her last form.
Yeah, we're getting a block from stage coming in here. There's a world where if we did some more self-sacrificing over the last couple turns or so,
we maybe gotten 1 or 2.
Yeah, could have gotten a couple more forms off. I don't know if it would have made the almighty difference.
Yeah, showing the hands. It's looking like that's the end of the game.
He says, I've got the high in my hand. I've got these in the stage. I've got just exactly enough. And we're going to see our first regional license exam decided by the deck out, Barrett.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's crazy. What a world we live in today.
I never thought I'd see it personally. I never thought I'd see it, at the very least, not without actually being in the hands of a mill deck itself, right? If we were playing the full present mic package, the full Sir Night Eye game plan. Nope, none of that. Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles, boys. That's just how the cookie crumbles.
Viewers at home, what if I told you that you could go to your local game store and purchase those 2 characters and a pre-built deck right now? Now they're not going to look like that, but, both decks playing their own secret rares, separately within the set of Undaunted Raid. But and if you told me that they were going to play like that coming out of the box, that's crazy, man. It's for sure a different day that we've now hit here. With summing up, getting our victor here, Luke Quinsee, Life Overhaul through a deck out, which has never happened, as far as I'm aware, on a regional license exam or any Top Cut final at this point.
No, I should know. I've casted a handful of these before. Pretty sure I ain't seen this one yet. This is a finals full of milestones all around. What an event for Undaunted Raid. What an event for our Clash decks. What an event for the deck out. Holy cow, it's been crazy. But before we get too into the platitudes, Barrett, I think we should do Tamron the courtesy of going to wake him up so we can tell these lovely people goodbye forever just for this weekend, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon for sign offs with the whole trio.